Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday evening, August 3rd, 2026. It is 7 p.m., and this is a regular meeting of the Gorham Planning Board. Would you please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please silence your cell phones. Simon, would you please call the roll?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hager.
I'm here.
Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mr. Frank.
Here.
Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Ms. Nichols. Here. Mr. Delaney has an excused absence. You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in your packet, you should have approval of the minutes, or hopefully, July 20th, 26th Planning Board meeting and June 24th, 2026 site walk minutes. I look to our secretary. Ms. Nichols, would you?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have reviewed the Planning Board meeting minutes of July 20th and found no issues. No issues with it, and I would recommend or make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Are there any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Frank.
On page 4, about 2/3 of the way down, the text for Ann Bilodeau, she talks about enlarged critical habit. I think she probably meant habitat. I mean,
Good catch.
Oh, I understand. Do you see that? Engaged in critical, third sentence,
Yes,
or third line, rather.
we've got that.
Habitat, we're going to make that correction.
We can correct that.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Any other objections to that?
I have one more. On page 5, the second paragraph for Mr. Siegel. I know we're in a different age, but is he really speaking for themselves or speaking for himself?
Themselves,
Okay.
yes.
I try to stay abreast.
Let's see. We also have something from June 24th, site walk notes.
Mr. Chair, I have reviewed the minutes of the site walk or the site walk notes, and I did not find anything that needed to be corrected, so do we approve those just the same? Just make a motion to approve?
Before you make the motion,
notes? Oh,
just in case,
okay.
so we don't have to amend anything.
I'm quiet.
Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Nichols, I interrupted you, please.
Okay, so I would make a motion to approve the site walk notes of June 24th, 2026.
Mr.
Thank
Frank
you.
will
Mr.
second.
Frank, thank you, Mr. Frank. Any other questions or comments, suggestions, ideas? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? I'm sorry, yes. Moving along, I'm sorry, thank you. Chairman's report, a couple of things. Ladies and gentlemen, we started this months ago. There was a public sign-in sheet in the back. If anyone would like to speak to us this evening, please fill out your name, address, and then we will call you. Mr. Yakaloff will go up and collect the sheets and bring them forward, et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. Chairman,
For
if I
something that
may,
is not on the agenda.
if I may, there are different sheets for different projects, so please read the heading.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll just throw out there that Mr. Crisafulli has had to resign. I'm not sure if I should disclose that his wife is going to be adding to the family. And so I think he knows he's going to be busier than he would be if he was able to continue with us. So we wish him all the best. And there has been public notice already that there is an opening on the planning board. and you can throw your name in the hat and be interviewed, and et cetera, et cetera. And we're looking forward to seeing a seventh person joining us. And that's all I have right now, I think. That's all. Anyone else? Committee reports, please. Ordinance review, Mr. Walsh.
We have not met since the last meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Comprehensive plan implementation, Mr. Frank.
We have not met.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Frank. Administrative site plan review.
The committee has not met since the last planning board meeting and has not received any new applications at this time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving along, public hearing time, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
may I propose to adjust the order of the public hearings this evening? I propose to move item 3 back and move item 4, just basically swap item 3 and 4.
3 to 4, 4 to 3?
Yes. And the reason for that is just reading the staff notes, it appears that item 3 there's some major issues with that probably will not, likely not be approved tonight. So, and I believe item 4 is ready to go, it's more prepared to go, so.
Is that your motion?
Yes, I
Is
move.
there a second, please? Mr. Frank? Mr. Frank beat you to it. Any other discussions? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. So we will flip 3 and 4 and 4 and 3. Thank you. Moving along, please. Item number 1 is a public hearing, zoning map amendment, a request to amend the town zoning map for a portion of a parcel, map 34, lot 14, from urban residential expansion to industrial. I'll look to town staff to introduce us, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this is a proposal that may be familiar to the board. It was before you last September. So what the applicants have done here is they've brought forward exactly the same proposal that came forward at that time. So that proposal is to rezone a portion of a parcel that they control from urban residential to industrial. There's no proposal for any kind of development in that area at this time. It's a rezoning only. I'll note that the comprehensive plan calls for the area to be urban residential expansion, not industrial. However, the parcel does border the industrial zoning district, and the town council, with input from the planning board, does have the authority to adjust zoning boundaries if it finds sufficient justification to do so. Note that the planning board did previously recommend that this item be adopted by the council by a vote of 5-0, with 2 members absent, Mr. Walsh and Mr. Crucifeli. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Yakulov. Let's see. We don't have anyone representing it? Oh, please. Please go to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Dan Shaw
Thank you.
with Shaw
Thank you, Mr.
Brothers.
Shaw.
And Mr. Chair and Board, thank you for hearing us tonight. We're asking for the exact same thing we asked for a year ago. The reason that we had to come back is because there was a lawsuit threatened by a resident, and we didn't want to put the town through it, so we waited 9 months or whatever it was. Basically, what we're asking to do, the existing industrial zone is in green. This is Route 237. We just want to continue the line straight. When we do come back for you for a proposed expansion, it's only going to be this 6.5 acres on the bottom, but we thought it would be cleaner and neater just to draw the line at 14.5. We own all the land in the back and make the line straight.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Any questions? Please. Please, Ms. Nichols?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were looking next door. I was just looking at some of, I was just looking at some of the overview notes. it's just the zoning just changing the zoning, but it says here, the planning board previously took this up in September. The applicants stated that they did not bring the item to the council at the time due to a possible objection. Is that what you were just talking about? Some sort of a lawsuit that you were waiting to
Yes.
clear up? Okay, I just wanted to see what happened with that,
It was just a
that was-
time thing. They said you can't come back that soon, so rather than put the town through that, we just pulled it back and waited until that time was up and went back.
Okay, that was really my question. Okay.
Please, Mr. Frank.
Just following up on that, yeah, we recommended that the council approve it, and you, for your stated reasons, decided not to bring it to the council. Since nothing has changed, and we liked it back then, we should like it now.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. It is a public hearing, yes,
Yes,
Mr.
it's
Walsh.
public hearing.
It is, okay.
It is. So do you want to
Well, I
take
have a
more
list, I have a
questions
list
now,
of,
or you want to,
I'm sorry?
do you want to take more questions now?
Well,
or do you
let's go
wanna-
through the public hearing and come back and ask Mr. Shaw to come back.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes,
Thank
that'd
you,
be
Mr.
good.
Shaw. Ladies and gentlemen, the public hearing, we have a list here. Andre James, I'm sorry, Hungerford? I'm sorry?
Hungerford?
Thank you.
Yes. Hi, thank you. I'm an attorney, and I represent John J. Wise.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yes.
We usually put time limits on these things,
Okay.
so can I look to my right? You feel lucky tonight, 3 minutes? 3 minutes? We have a hard stop at 10. All right, 3 minutes? Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. So my name is Andre James Hungerford, and I represent Jay Wise. Jay could not be here tonight because he's tending his father in South Carolina, and his father is elderly. But I've been here before to the meetings, and I'm aware of the situation. So he's at 287 Mosher Road, and he lives right here by Mosher Road and Queen Street in the corner. Now, you just heard from Dan Shaw, Mr. Shaw, and he just wants to square things off, right? So he wants to make it industrial. Well, if we look at the comprehensive town plan from 2016, it talks about the state goals and the town goals, but basically you want to, maintain the residential rural character of the town. I've mentioned this before, you have a beautiful town, you have a university, you have great schools, and you have just a vibrant community. So now all of a sudden, we want to put an industrial use in here where we have, it used to be, I think it was a brickyard way back, and now they crush stone and cause all this pollution to go all over the place. And they just want to square it off. Well, that's going to benefit one company to the detriment of all the people that live around here, because they're going to have to, it's like a Trojan horse. We just want to square off the line. It's going to look pretty, right? Well, what it's going to do is, if we look here, I think this is sort of open area. It's going to bring that tree line. There's going to be no more buffer here. It's going to be right there. And it's going to, when they crush that rock, they used to have a video, okay, when you went to their website, and the video would show the crushing of the rock and all the spouting of the crushed stone and all that fine particulate would go all over the place, right? And then they took it off. I think that was pointed out. And then, it was probably a smart thing to do because you don't want to tell people completely. But when that stuff spreads, it just goes for miles because it goes way up and it spreads over everything. So now we want to have, well, it's just this little straightening of the line. But that's going to put everything closer to Queen Street, right? And the rural character of your quaint neighborhood is going to change because you can crush stone. This is an industrial use. We're not preserving what we have. We're going back to industrial. We're increasing this zone, which is not in character with the city, with Gorham, with the town of Gorham. So I think what Jay's worried, because he has horses and chickens and geese, all sorts of things right across the street here on this map. He came here, he knew that there was some industrial use. He's in the real estate business, and he's accepted that. What he's not accepting is that this area is going to be stripped away and that we're going to see further industrialization of your beautiful community. So on behalf of Jay Wise, he would like to object to this, this change of zoning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Charlie Hamlin.
Thank you very much, Charlie Hamlin, speaking as a citizen, not as a town councilor. If I'm smart enough to make this play, come on. I can't make it work. I'm not smart enough, but I was gonna play you what a backup signal of a dump truck sounds like, and I think you guys know about it. But I live a half mile from the existing quarry. I just put new Pella windows in my house, and I'm woken up between 5 and 5:30 each morning. Not every morning, occasionally, because of the backup signals, and then typically it's followed by rocks being dumped into the dump trucks. So why is this kind of interesting? So I went back to the 2009 approval by the planning board, and it was very clearly said the operating hours are from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's very clearly operating out of what was the approved timeframes. The planning board also at that time talked about things such as earthen berms, which are on one side or the other, but they're really not on all. I own all the property behind the quarry. There's no berm. There's no fence. The trees have been taken down almost right to the property line. I have no protection in my land. And the planning board said they were going to take care of that things. They also talked about a reclamation plan, which typically I understand at quarries, they go a certain range in a quarry and then you reclaim it. And I think even at the time, Mr. Shaw said he expected the pit to be filled with water, but he anticipates using temporary cover with stump grindings or rock excavation area to meet the letter of the law. But when we took the review or the public walk through the quarry last fall, there's nothing being done. There's no reclaiming. They're just making a bigger and bigger hole. There's no attempt really to change the dust, the control, or listen to the neighbors. Now, I compliment you guys with Amazon. You've done a great job pushing back on Amazon, and they've come back with ideas. And I'm hoping you guys will do the same thing against this quarry, because right now, nothing's going on to protect the neighbors, or not enough in my mind. So I understand you guys are not a compliance board, but the problem is, this stuff was out in 2009 and nobody's enforcing it. Nobody's looking at making it better. I think Amazon talked about coming back in a year to see if what we've done is adequate. I haven't seen that from the quarries at all. So I'm asking you guys, as you know, you've read the letters, the town council approved hiring a consultant to look at the ordinances from Gorham, which are very old. Nobody even knows when they came out. So why rush into approving this thing when we should be looking at ordinances that make sense for this town, and then, if appropriate, move forward with this expansion at that time, but don't expand. Don't let them to move forward until we know we're protecting the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamlin. Hannah Hamlin, please.
Okay, so I think I can make the backup noise work, but let's see real quick. So that's what we hear at about 5 a.m. on the farm. So I just wanted to start by clarifying a few things. I spent the entire morning reviewing the Gorham zoning around this property. And so essentially right here, right now, is urban residential. On all sides are different forms of urban residential or residential expansion. The only industrial zoning is right here, where the existing quarry is. On the other side of that is the Mosier mixed use. So the actual industrial zone that we have in that area of Gorham is way farther that way, aside from the existing industrial zone. One other thing I did...
Wait a second.
Yep.
The green is industrial.
So, sorry, I flipped it. That's the existing quarry. This is what they're trying to rezone. All of this is existing residential expansion.
Okay.
And down here, way down here, is the existing industrial zone. Between that is the Mosier mixed-use area. Other point of clarification, you guys might be looking at this as a zoning change, but we have confirmed during recording town council meetings that they will be expanding the quarry into this area. So it is not just a zoning change. There are other decisions connected to that. I think I forgot to introduce myself, Hannah Hamblin. I currently live on Hamblin Drive in Gorham. It's been in my family farm for a long time. We're about mile and a half away from this area, where the house is. So we've been going back and forth between the town council and the planning board for about 3 years now on this, so I'm going to try to make this count today, but I also try to be fast. So like I said, we do have confirmation this is a quarry expansion request, essentially. I think it would be dishonest to look at it as just rezoning, as we know what that is going to be used for. Tonight, I want to talk about the plan itself, our comprehensive plan, which is what I know a planning board adheres to. You're determining whether this rezoning is in harmony with the comprehensive plan. The future land use map, which I spent the morning looking at, designates this parcel, the contested parcel, as a residential growth area. Specifically, it's a village expansion. Currently zoned as urban residential, previously zoned as suburban residential. So it's never been industrial and it's never been intended to be industrial in the history of the zoning that I was able to review back about 12 years. The plan's language directly supports this. The land use objective 2 directs the town to discourage significant development to preserve the rural nature of areas with large contiguous areas of undeveloped land. Holy moly.
That's,
Okay.
thank you for your,
Sorry?
it's not my time, they're using the timer,
Oh,
so.
phew, okay. Don't know where I am then. Okay. Discourage significant developments to preserve the rural nature of areas with large contiguous areas of undeveloped land. That describes the land all around the parcel, almost
Thank you.
entirely undeveloped.
Thank you. Thank you, appreciate your time.
Okay. Well, I'd like to pass this down to you guys if you're interested in reviewing it. Sure. Thank you. References to the comprehensive plan. Oh, actually, we're going to have someone tag in. If you don't mind. Okay, where are you? Oh, it's tiny.
I know, my mother.
Excuse me, what's going on?
I'm just going to
She's
continue
gonna finish
reading.
for me?
We're from the same group. We researched together. Hannah researched.
Your time is up.
I'm going to
she's
start
a
my 3
separate
minutes of
person.
time.
Is Peggy Olson here?
Yes,
Okay.
Peg is next.
Well, according to the sign-in sheet, Peggy's next.
Okay, well, I can add my name to the sign-in sheet.
You absolutely can.
Okay.
I'm just trying to go by an order.
Here. Okay. I'll take the sign-in sheet and add my name.
Peggy Olson, please. Thank you.
Peggy Olson, I've been living on Aspen Lane for about 10 years. I'm here tonight to support my neighbors and friends in urging the planning board to at least table the rezoning application until such time as the hired consultant completes their ordinance review. There's no urgency in furthering this application, which postdates the approval to hire a consultant. The matter was before town council previously, was rejected once and withdrawn once. Relief for many residents affected by the quarry operations is past the urgent state, many of whose concerns have been unacknowledged, unaddressed, and unresolved for years. Other issues also exist, which includes environmental impacts and compatibility with the town's comprehensive plan. Current ordinances appear insufficient to provide adequate protections and compliance to all concerned and affected by this application. Please allow the consultant to complete the job they've been hired to do in order for you to make a truly informed decision with the due diligence expected and deserved by all the taxpayers in Gorham. The right way, not the easy one. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. I apologize, Brianna.
Brianna Meister.
I'm sorry, thank you.
My name is Brianna Meister, and I live at 71 Queen Street, so I'm pretty much right there on the map. When you are discussing this agenda item tonight, I ask that you consider the input and perspectives from myself and my neighbors. We live right where I pointed out in the residential areas that abut this quarry and experience the impacts from this on a daily basis, whether it's smell, noise, dust, or all of the above. You guys showed that video. I took one last week. That's, the rock crusher all day long. I have one of dust flying up over our house. A lot of our neighbors we've talked to the same thing. That's not a great way to live. We may not own a multi-million-dollar business, but our input should be no less valuable. Is it better to push through a decision that benefits one interest, or is it better to wait until you have data to make an informed decision? The town council has voted to invest money into a consultant to review quarry ordinances. In my opinion, it's worth it to see what information comes from this report and use this as a guide to make informed decisions that benefit both businesses and the surrounding community and neighbors. There should be no rush to push forward a decision whose impacts cannot be undone. The quarry is not going to go bankrupt by you guys denying this tonight. We can work together, I think, to have a good solution for everyone. There are too many inconsistencies right now to make a well-informed decision. There are years of issues and complaints from community members that have not been resolved. How will changing of the zoning of this allow for more industrial activity make this any better? It will certainly make it worse, I can tell you that. Chapter 4 of the comprehensive plan, the community vision, states the following: town officials will promote a culture of collaboration among all stakeholders. The vision also states, Gorham supports the sustainability of the environment and natural resources and should be open to considering new technologies or new ideas that enhance the community's sustainability and improve living environment. Before you're making a decision tonight, I urge you to truly consider whether you are upholding these visions and values. I kindly request that quarry decisions such as this wait until the consultant review has been done and there's productive collaboration between all of us. I think just saying, we looked at this before and that's how it is not a useful way of looking at things. We have an opportunity to do things the right way. Thank you.
Thank you. Camille, I'm sorry, your last name? Seo. Could you? Seo. S-E-O? Yep. Thank you.
Could you repeat that in the microphone?
Yes, my name is Camille Seo. I live on Queen Street in Gorham, Maine. You will have to bear with me. I'm reading through the remainder of Hannah's thoughtfully prepared comments. So continuing where she left off, she was stating that land use objective 8 goes further, committing the town to resisting expanding the commercial corridor beyond areas beyond those identified in the future land use plan. This parcel sits outside that footprint. Approving this rezoning would mean the board recommending a designation the town's own plan doesn't support. To be clear, the industrial zone it abuts is the existing quarry separated from the other industrial zone. The impacts of this are not hypothetical. Based on the town records and documentation from my neighbors and I have compiled, we estimated that there have been roughly 25 written complaints to the town since 2024 from residents on the streets around this parcel involving dust, blasting, and noise. Maine DEP has logged 6 more. The plan's own limited growth area concept states that these areas are where the goal is to maintain the current development pattern, allowing only limited infill that's in character with the adjacent neighborhood. Of the parcels bordering this one, only the existing quarry is zoned industrial. Converting land near Queen Street, bounded on nearly every side by residential growth area land, is the opposite of in character with this neighborhood. You have 3 years of history on this issue, more testimony than you probably wanted, and a decision that comes down to one question. Does this rezoning match what the town's own plan says should happen on this land? By its own map, its own objectives, and its own definition of what a good neighbor looks like, the answer is no. I'm asking you to recommend denial, or at minimum, table this until the town finishes with the mineral extraction ordinance review it has already committed to, so the next decision on this land is made with right tools in hand. This is Hannah's words, sorry. My family has been part of this community for generations. I'm asking you to make a decision tonight that our community can live with for the next generation too. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone? Yes. You don't have to sign in, but, well, we just want to know your name and address. When you get to the podium, I'll let you know.
My name's Kelly Rio. I live off Main Street, and I work in real estate. So I think what these guys are doing here, there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever.
Well, let me, please accept my apology.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak against this project that hasn't signed in? Please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. Sir, give me so we try to get all these people in the same, so go take a break for a minute.
Okay.
And let Ann come up.
Sorry, my apologies to that gentleman. I'm Ann Bilodeau and I live on Shamrock Drive. I don't abut this property, but I wanted to know if any of you saw the article in today's newspaper about this proposal to rezone this land. By Shaw Brothers' own testimony or whatever with that reporter, they have 50 years life left in this current quarry, and this expansion of the 6-something acres they want to do would give them additional 10 years. So I would urge you, there is no rush to make a decision on this zoning change tonight. Let the town's experts that you've hired to review your ordinances give you a report. I mean, that's taxpayer money. Don't put my taxpayer money to waste before you make a change here. It doesn't make sense. You're putting the cart before the horse. If you make this change and they come back and say, hey, you know, your ordinances are way too loose, they should be tighter, or maybe they'll say, hey, let them expand all they want. But you don't have to rush this decision. They've got another 50 years by their own testimony left in this quarry. So why the rush to make this change now? Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone else that wishes to speak against, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Heidi Noyce, and I live on Dolph Road. And we can't see that on this map, but somewhere down here. Do you know where that is? Okay.
Yes.
All right. My husband and I have lived there for 38 years. In 2017, the quarry had a significant expansion, and at that time, the town zoning administrator estimated that we live about 1,000 feet from the southwest corner of the quarry. And I know that 1,000 feet sounds like a lot. It sounds like it's a substantial buffer, but I can tell you from personal experience, it's not enough. We get the dust, we hear the heavy equipment noise, the rock crushers, the trucks, the backup horns that, you know, they go on, and even when they stop, you still hear them in your head. And as if that's not enough, we also tolerate the nauseating smell of the asphalt plant at various times of the day and night. We also experience the house shaking blasts. So there are many of us in this area that owned our homes long before the Brickyard Quarry was even a thought. We had absolutely no way of knowing that we would be living so close to a large-scale mining operation. We didn't choose to live near a quarry or an asphalt plant. Our town leaders at the time made that choice for us, and we've been living the consequences of that decision ever since. Back in 2007 and 2008, there were many of us who stood before the planning board and the town council, and we expressed our valid concerns to no avail, and it was disheartening to feel unheard. Fast forward to now, 18 years later, and we have reached a pivotal point where we can either cause more distress for the homeowners in the area, or we can pause on this rezoning request. We look to our town leaders to act in our best interest, and I respectfully ask for a pause on this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone else would like to speak against this project? I see no one rising. Sir, if you would like to, I'm opening this up now to anyone that wants to speak in favor of this project. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
First name's Kelly, last name is Rio, 58 Cumberland Lane off of Main Street. Like I said earlier, I work in real estate. I have nothing to do with this. But as far as them wanting to square things up, makes perfect sense. It's back land. It's probably, wood lot. I would approve it because it's a good use and they're not even going to use the whole thing. If DEP has never had a violation at their pit or anything like that, which I recently read, then I don't see what the big issue is. So approve it 100%. These guys do a lot for this town and people should realize that. They do a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this project, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. I don't see anyone rising. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone that would like to speak in neutral about this project? Anyone? I don't see anyone rising. Ladies and gentlemen, I will close the public hearing. Thank you. Members of the board.
Yeah, I have a question for the staff with respect to the consultant and the work that they're doing. And from my understanding of the timeline, the town contracted a consultant, but then asked us to take a vote on this proposal. So is that correct, that the town is asking that with the knowledge that the consultant is still doing their work?
We should look to Tom because the council is his bailiwick.
Yeah, so the council heard the request for a rezone and sent the item forward to the planning board. The applicant filled the application, so the board should review the application in front of it. So the town did go out for an RFP to look at mineral extraction, review of our ordinance and requirements. We have received one application based on that RFP. That information has been sent to the town council. And the town council, I assume, will be moving in the next couple of months to decide whether they want to implement that RFP or not. So there hasn't been clear direction that we're even hiring the consultant yet. I think the council needs to have that discussion.
Yeah, thank you. And again, for clarification, because I'm not sure that I heard it right, the town council has asked us to provide guidance on this issue.
Correct. They forwarded the item and then the applicant filled out the application and paid the required fee to move this forward.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, just to continue with Tom. Tom, if the that RFP moves forward and a consultant is hired, reviews the ordinances, and come back with recommendations to change those ordinances, how might that outcome change this decision that we're being asked this evening, which is a zoning map question?
So it wouldn't really affect the zoning map application, and it wouldn't really affect Shaw Brothers' existing quarry operations because they're already approved. Should the RFP move forward and the council move forward with revising standards and have that in place, should the applicant move forward, should the applicant look to expand the quarry, they would now be subject to those new zoning requirements at that time. Should we have them in place? If we don't have the new zoning in place or we don't move forward with the RFP, they would have to meet our existing quarry regulations.
So any new ordinance, though, would, if the the consultant came back and said the ordinances that we currently have in place for existing operations are not meeting, are not stringent enough. Could that impact current operations?
No. Because they've already been approved under a standard that the planning board reviewed as part of that application. So you don't get to retroactively change standards and then have a new standard for them.
They can't, say just something as far as dust control. The town can tighten a dust control standard?
I don't believe.
In business?
I guess we could do a licensing requirement, I guess, but for a performance standards, I don't believe so, but I'll look to our town attorney.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more.
No, I agree with Tom on this. So there would be two questions, and I think Tom alluded to the key distinction for this board to keep in mind. And I was here the last time you had a public hearing on this request back in the fall, and the answer is identical. So keep in mind when any outside applicant, anyone in town can submit a proposal to the town council to change the zoning map. So that's what's happened here. Under your zoning ordinance, that proposal is required to be forwarded to the planning board for a public hearing, and you provide a recommendation, a non-binding recommendation on that proposal to the council. So regardless of what the planning board decides in terms of its recommendation, ultimately it is up to the council, which has not acted yet, and would need to hold its own public hearing to decide whether or not to approve the amendment to the map to rezone the red shaded area on that plan presented by Shaw Brothers to industrial. So that would be step one. Under your current ordinances, any proposal to add at least 4 acres to an existing quarry or to expand existing footprint by more than 50% of whatever is existing requires coming back to the planning board for approval of that expansion. Smaller expansions may not apply, but certainly it's safe to assume, given the size of what's proposed to be rezoned, that that would occur here. That's where the timing becomes important. I think as Tom alluded to, if a rezoning were approved by the council, that would allow an application to come to this board for expansion of the quarry into what would now be industrial. You would still need to review that and approve it or not approve it, consistent with your existing zoning ordinance as it applies to mineral extraction. If in the interim period of time, keep in mind, it's no guarantee that the council acts on this immediately, regardless of your recommendation. If in the interim time there are amendments to the ordinance that apply more stringent or different performance standards to an expansion of a quarry, those would be in place if there was ever an expansion application that came to this board. But I think to Tom's previous point, when code enforcement looks at identifying violations of existing ordinances and or existing approvals of this board, it's looking at what was in place on the date that that approval was put in place. So an amendment to your ordinance would apply to future expansions of existing quarries or new proposed quarries altogether, but they would not apply to operations that had been previously approved before the date of those amendments.
There's no look-back period.
There is no look-back period, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I have some questions for the applicant.
Yes, please, Mr. Shaw or Mr. Pratt, either or.
Yeah, Danny Shaw again. You know, at some point, you got to call a spade a shovel here, and the truth has to come out. And a lot of what you guys have heard is not true. And I don't want to get into the quarry because all we're trying to do here is this is rezoning. But we do work hard for this town. We do give back. I hope one of you guys have been to one of our parks and you can see what we do. We're not trying to buy better shoes or eat better food here. We're in it for the long haul. We went to school here. We were born here. Mr. Hamlin, who was an awesome person, Calvin Hamlin, no, there's no berm because he didn't ask for a berm. He would not recuse himself on the council because he wanted to make sure he voted in favor of this project. He said, we need more business. A real gentleman. Mrs. Noyce's father, I knew well. Unless something's changed, she sold her property 2 weeks ago to a good friend of mine. And he's in the logging business, and he's very happy with us. You're not going to hear him. They can say this land in back of us, we own it. We own that land. And the lawyer didn't realize that. But this was zoned for a quarry up until 3 years ago. When they changed the zone to manufactured housing, they said quarries are not allowed. There's been quarries allowed on this piece of land since the beginning. LaChance Brick made more dust than we ever make. And I hope you guys drive by our facility, which the DEP says is #1 in the state of Maine. We water every day. Liberal Lou on the council said you guys should plant some trees on the berm. It would go a long ways for me. We planted 400 trees. Never heard a word from him. We try hard. And I think we've got to come back to the truth. And when they say you can get this approved from DEP in 1 day, bald-faced lie. It takes months. We've got to have, not only do we have to go to the council now, then we have to come to you guys, we have to go to DEP, we have to have 2 more public hearings, 1 here and a group meeting at DEP. We are regulated to the hilt. We've got 13 pits. We know what to do. There's a water truck here every day. We sweep. We've got berms. We paved 42 acres. Find me another place that paved. We're the only one that I know of in New England. We've got people that fly in from Oregon to see this plant. We're 100% electric. We run off a solar farm in Buxton, Maine that we own. I mean, I don't know how you can get any greener. We need quarries. You can't, he says, I live on a dirt road, we should all be on a dirt road. Well, try going down the main turnpike today in the rain. That's ludicrous. We need concrete, we need hospitals, we need roads. And we don't start at 5 in the morning, we work 24 hours a day because the public demands it. We can't pave tonight because it just rained, but we paved last night. We'll pave tomorrow night. We pave every night. The only thing that's limited to 6 to 6 is the active area of our quarry. Everything that's outside that, all the crushes, all the piles, those are all 24/7. We're an industrial piece of land. When we tried to expand back in 1980, the appeals board wouldn't let us because they said, you guys belong, after we bought the house next to us, they said, you belong in an industrial zone. So we found an industrial zone on Main Street, which we've sold to Noonan because we outgrew it. And we found this piece. So we do try hard. And if anybody drives by there to see stones spewing in the air, it doesn't happen. Do we have zero dust? No, we have dust. We are way below what we're allowed on dust, on vibration, on noise. We got it set up so the trucks back up, you don't hear the backup alarms. We have to have backup alarms. We have to, it's the law. And we have a lot of laws we have to go by. So I just think we got to be truthful. If we're going to say something, tell the truth. The town has not hired a consultant. He wants them to hire a consultant. We've already we're 3 years into this. He wants to drag it down, drag it more, so that you can get a consultant to make pits illegal in Gorham. Well, we need pits. And I don't want to stand here and just apologize, but I do want somebody to start telling the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Pratt, would you like to add anything?
No, I think as previously was said, though, we're talking about a zone expansion here. We're not talking a zone change. We're not talking about a quarry expansion tonight. So if we expanded the quarry, then we will have to come back to the planning board, as discussed. We'll have to adhere to all the rules and regulations of quarrying in the town of Gorham, whether they're changed or not changed in the future. And that's where we'll be. we're looking to square this piece of property off tonight, and that's the only thing we're looking at is this change tonight. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Question?
Yes, Mr. Pratt or Mr. Shaw. If we do not approve this tonight, if we don't, what is the impact? What's driving the timeline for this? Because, I'm hearing, now, obviously there's both sides. Bear with me. Mr. Shaw, excuse me, bear with me. I've read a lot about this. I've heard a lot about this. I sat through the discussion last year. And what I don't understand is you're asking for a zone map change tonight, which seems simple enough. But obviously it's going to lead to, there's a process. You have a process. If you're going to expand, you need the zoning map change in place. Then you would come back, I'm assuming if that was approved, you'd come back with a plan for additional work, which would have to come back for the planning board. If we were to say, wait a minute, what if you wait if there's an RFP out there and there's going to be possibly look at some ordinance changes, what happens if you wait? What is the impact on your operation and your plans?
It's going to be huge. If we can't, well, we have to, yes, we've got 50 years there, probably more than that.
When you say that, 50 years in the existing operation?
Yes. And then we start hauling in from other quarries.
Well, I guess that begs the question then, why the 10 more years now?
Because most of those years are below water. So right now, if you drive down into our quarry, we take a left. What we need to do is keep going straight into the expansion area. And that's going to be where our pumps are set up. And that's going to be where we go below water. So we've already gone bigger than what we planned to before we go down. So we've got to start going below water. And if we have to do that before this expansion, then we're going to have to set up pumps in a different area, and then we're going to have to change everything around later. It's very complicated. And right now we're trying to get, when we come down the hill, we're going to go right into this expansion area. And that'll be our next lift. And then there's still 3 more lifts after that. So most of our rock is down. And the deeper we go, the less you hear us and the less you feel us. But and the better the quality of the rock gets. But if we don't get approval for this, what they want to do is get into a new council. And that's the plan. Right now, we want to get this done so we can get to the old council, the one that's there now. There is no RFP. They have not voted on RFP. And I don't think they're going to. They want between $40,000 and $50,000 to look at other ordinances. And I can already tell you, Gorham's got one of the toughest ordinances in the state. And we work in a lot of towns. So to come up with something even tougher than what you have, Charlie, he's going to leave here, and he's fighting a quarry in Alfred that my brother's getting approved. This isn't even about this neighborhood. This is about something. I don't even know what it's about. But you can't just say we're not going to have quarries anymore. And if you guys don't approve this, then we're going to miss our window. We've been 3 years going through this. And I think we've done enough for the town that we deserve, hopefully, to get approval to go forward.
Thank you.
No. Public hearing's closed.
I just, because I keep hearing some little comments over here, I just wanted to clarify that this is not public hearing, this is not public comment, so there's no 3-minute timer. This is the applicant explaining, and we're asking them questions, so it's different, so there's no timer to it, just because I kept hearing that. And so it's, if I may proceed, there's...
You got the floor.
Okay. We've got a town councilor who's against the project that is before the planning board, and a reputable company who's asking for something. So there could be, it's like we have to kind of try to level the playing field and understand and try to look at all of the facts that are in front of us and do what we feel is that's best for the town. And if it sounds like there is a possible RFP out there by the by the town council that is really kind of flopping back and forth that could throw our timeline way off. I personally feel kind of uncomfortable with that. I feel like maybe it's time to kind of make myself to look at the facts that are in front of us and make a decision on what's in front of us rather than looking at whether there's an RFP floating. I hear as an RFP, there's not an RFP unless the town can clarify that for me. Is there an RFP?
Yes, so the town went out and drafted an RFP, put it out, I can't remember, it's been a number of months now, probably 2 or 3 months ago, to request consultants provide us a list of an overview of ordinances, and we had a whole bunch of standards of what we wanted that RFP to do regarding looking at mineral extraction regarding other municipalities. Like compare us to other municipalities, see where we're at, see where our standards were at. The RFP process went through and we had one submission. So one consultant submitted to the RFP. That information has been relayed to the town council and staff's waiting direction of whether we're moving forward with that RFP or not. So that's where it currently stands. Again, what I would say as you review this, this is a zoning request, right? If there are information, when you make your deliberations that you want to get back to the town council, I think they will take that input from the planning board and act on it. So I think as you as a board, if you say, hey, we move this zoning in X direction, provide some feedback about why, that would be helpful for the council as they move forward with their deliberations.
Shaking your head, you...
I agree. I mean, I'll reiterate again the point that Tom made, that understanding the information, the whole body of information that you have in front of you, the only task for the planning board tonight is to make a decision of whether to provide a recommendation. Well, you must provide a recommendation. It's up to the planning board to decide what that recommendation is to the council about whether or not this amendment, proposed amendment to the zoning map should be approved. And I agree with Director Poirier that it does not necessarily need to be as simple as yes or no. I think it would certainly be helpful if you have heard information tonight that the council should take into consideration when it's making its decision. That should be relayed as well. Obviously, the minutes will be available and all of that as well. But the council will effectively repeat this process at its level, hold another public hearing, and ultimately make a decision about whether or not to approve the request. And as has been explained multiple times, that action, if it's approved, simply rezones the 6-acre piece of property. What happens at that point remains in the hands of the property owner.
So if I may just try to bring this back to planning board level a little bit. You know, right now the existing zone for this site is, for the land, Carol, is what?
Urban residential expansion.
Urban residential expansion. Do we have, then we'll take it to industrial. What is our history of rezoning land to industrial? Because industrial is a big jump. No matter, what it's from to, industrial is a big jump because there are many impacts. So what was the history of this? I think Mr. Shaw alluded to it was zoned differently in the past. And what's our history of taking a piece of land that is non-industrial and zoning it, change it to industrial, other than the existing industrial park?
I would say it's been done several times in this area and in the Amazon area, in that location. But I would ask Tom for a more complete history because he's been here in the town longer.
So I got to recall it. That parcel was either zoned rural or suburban residential as prior to being rezoned to urban residential expansion. And I think What the applicant has identified is it used to be allowed quarry, so if it was in rural and suburban residential prior, then quarrying wasn't allowed use. When the council went forward and rezoned, as part of the comp plan process, a lot of areas got rezoned urban residential expansion. As part of that zoning amendment process, the council didn't identify mineral extraction in that zoning district, so that's where that discussion about it's no longer allowed comes into effect. Regarding the parcel, that parcel's been zoned industrial for a significant time. I think the applicant identified it was more in brick. It used to be a brick foundry, I guess, is the correct term for brick when they make bricks. But because I think if you look at the building now, the whole back, there used to be a hill there that was all clay, and that's where the bricks were mined from. So it was like a mining operations, and it was the building in the front that made the bricks.
All right, thank you.
Questions, comments?
Well, I guess my only comment is through this entire process, and is that, I don't know where the truth versus the, what is the truth in terms of the code enforcement? Because so much of this feels like it's outside the purview of the planning board. We're talking about, it's at this time of day and this time of day. That's outside what we do. I mean, it may be in the conditions of approval, but that's not supposed to be enforced by another group, not the folks here. I think I'm right on that. And so much of this in the public input, I'm very, receptive to it and feel badly for it, but it seems like it's kind of outside what we're doing. And the zoning question, which is very much what we do, seems somewhat straightforward, but I don't want to be unsympathetic to what we've heard tonight. So I'm struggling with this.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
I'm asking our attorney to check in the ordinance for zoning changes to see if there are any review criteria or some kind of language. What does the board go on to make an ordinance change like this? Is there anything?
There really is not, and I'll read it verbatim. This comes from section 301.6 of your code. So such proposed amendments, those being to the zoning map, shall be heard by the planning board, which shall, after public hearing, make a recommendation on the proposal to the town council. I can tell you the generally applicable review standard for the legislative body, which is the council in Gorham, making any amendments to the zoning ordinance, is that it has to be in basic harmony with the comprehensive plan. And so while that's not necessarily the standard that the planning board is applying, that's what the council applies, that standard effectively means that the proposed amendment needs to find some basis in the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan certainly is going to support a whole number of viewpoints. It is expansive, and that's why the courts do not require a zoning ordinance amendment to be in perfect symmetry, so to speak, with the comprehensive plan. But in terms of this board, you are only required to make a recommendation. There is no standard that's provided for you. Certainly, if I think it would be helpful, speaking for the council, for you to provide a basis. It doesn't need to be particularly detailed, but whatever your recommendation is, I think it would be important to state the reasons why you feel that the comprehensive plan as a whole may or may not support the proposal. And certainly that would be drilled down into further at the council level when it reaches them.
Thank you. Questions, comments? We have two proposed motions. Colonel, you have?
Yeah, I'm just conflicted. I did vote in favor in the previous vote. The applicant, I believe we need to take a vote. and not postpone it one way or the other. The town council has asked us to do it. We don't know if the RFP is going to be approved or submitted or contracted. We don't know if any of that's going to happen. We don't know what the results of that would be when the consultant came in and did the work anyway. So I'm in favor of certainly making a motion or going forward tonight.
Any other discussion? Colonel, please.
Well, I'm just trying to answer your question. You know, I think it's been said that maybe we send along some opinion to the council with, if we were to vote to recommend. And I guess I would just say that, you know, based upon the wealth of public input and also the frustration of the applicant, I really have to question, are the existing codes being properly enforced? Now, it sounds like they're in place, but I hear a lot of conflict, and I don't know what's right of whether they're being enforced appropriately and properly, and I think that just needs to be reviewed, and that's not part of here, but certainly the town council can request that. No?
No, Mr. Shaw wants to set on, please, no, we're all set.
So when we came to you guys last year, the town had a meeting.
No, I'm asking no more comment.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw, please, no.
I guess I would say if we did send it along, I would ask that town council please ask for extensive review of existing codes are being enforced.
And again, just going back to our time here, there was something before the board several years ago about expanding the buffer, and we went through some of these very similar conversations and had some of the same direction to the town and went back and forth on code enforcement, et cetera, and had those questions answered in the affirmative because we approved that buffer expansion. So.
Yeah, that was the north side. I'm going to call, north is going to be this way, west. Okay.
Yep.
The north side expansion, sure.
Right.
Well, you gentlemen, you want to duke it out? You have some suggestions?
Mr. Chair, I want to move to send proposed zoning map amendment to change the zoning map 34 lot 14 from urban residential expansion to industrial district to the town council with a recommendation for adoption.
I will second that.
And I would add, I would like to amend that to state that we request that town council review the code enforcement on all existing codes to make sure that all existing town codes are being properly and evenly enforced.
Is that okay to piggyback?
I would, so if we're going to go down that route though, I mean, I would potentially add that if the town is concerned about these ordinance compliance, that it should expedite the RFP process so that it is in place, that any changes are in place before additional site expansion comes along.
No, I guess, Boyd, I'm not getting to that because I mean, I view that as another layer, but I'm saying what's on the books now, I question just based upon the mixed feedback we get. Are existing codes being enforced today? Tom, maybe you can answer that.
What I will say is, again, when we get complaints, the code officer looks into any kind of enforcement action. I can tell you as part of this, there was a site walk done by a staff to look at the proposed quarry. Now, again, when you do a review at the time that you're doing a site plan, it can meet standards. And so enforcement, people always say like, oh, it's this one time, this one instance, they didn't meet a standard. But every time that we've been to the site, it has met the criteria as we understand it and we have reviewed it. Now, other situations, I can't speak for everything, but when we've gone to the site, it has met the standards. I will say that, so.
Do we visit the site unannounced?
No, well, no, we typically always identify 2 quarries and gravel pits when the site inspections are done. Every year, the code office, along with the town engineer, tries to hit all the quarries or a certain number of quarries every year to make sure that they're in compliance with the approval. So we try to identify them as we review them. So they are inspected to try to ensure that they're in compliance. Now, what I will say is, does that mean there are no impacts? No, there are impacts because a quarry has impacts. What we're trying to say is, do they meet the performance standards identified by the council at the time? Yes. This project, and I think the applicant identified it, what happens is you get a quarry and then you have an industrial use that's accessory to the quarry. So there are noises there that happen 24 hours a day because that's allowed. So the paving plant, the industrial commercial use around the quarry is allowed to operate because that's an industrial use. So it's a little bit hard to separate the 2 uses sometimes on a site that's adjacent to each other.
Well, in that case, I mean, that's something that, and I think, in prior conversation here, Lee, I think, it said, you got a neighbor problem, and I can be somewhat sympathetic. I managed a pulp mill with a large chip pile adjacent to a residential area, and I had a dust issue. But I'll tell you what kept what will make my day is when DEP showed up at the gate unannounced. An unannounced inspection keeps you on your toes and ahead of the game all the time, because that can happen and that can result in fines. Having an announced inspection, it's a nice walkthrough. An unannounced inspection and the threat of a possible unannounced inspection at any time makes you manage your business differently. Certainly made me do it differently.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Coming back to the motion,
please.
I feel like this is, I'm not comfortable with the amendment just because I'm not sure where we're at.
Can we send it as just a
letter or
note?
a follow-on?
Yeah. A letter from the planning board?
You're going to write a letter and send it to me, and we'll review it, and
We can work up a draft.
That capture the concerns.
does that satisfy?
Yes.
So we've had a motion and a second. We're asking to have staff write a letter. We'll review it. We can do that within the next week.
Yes,
What's the timetable?
Yeah, sure, by email.
certainly.
Okay.
My only question procedurally is who is going to review that letter before it's sent on? If it's just the chair, I think that's fine. Otherwise, it would need to be at the next scheduled meeting if the entire board wants to review it.
I don't know if they trust me at all.
I trust you. You have my trust.
It's four. Well, I would like you to review it in case there's something in there that you want. Maybe it'll channel through me, but is that going to be legally okay?
My preference to be doubly sure would either that the board express that one of its members is going to review it before it's sent on, or you certainly can provide the recommendation to the council, and then it'll be a question of having this be on your next regular agenda.
Letters go through me, so I will take that responsibility. I just want to. You okay? You're comfortable? Okay?
It's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Thank you. Moving along, please. We're moving along. We are looking at item 2, please. Item 2 is a public hearing, site plan review, Eastern Drive contractor units. Proposal to construct 9 contractor tradesman units in 2 buildings with a paved parking lot and associated infrastructure, located in the industrial zoning district on map 12, lot 23-5. The applicant is represented by Andrew Morrill, PE with BH2M. Mr. Morrill, good evening. Before you, we had no other sign-in sheets for that previous, correct? And now we may have sign-in sheets for.
Yes, I can go check that.
Don't mind? Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Morrow. How are you?
Good. Good evening.
I think we're going to have them kick it off, please.
Bit of a summary. Yes, this project includes a paved parking lot, underground utilities, public water and sewer, and stormwater infrastructure. The proposal was previously looked at by the board for a sketch plan review on January 5th of this year. It's now before the board for a public hearing. So some outstanding items for your discussion is there is a applied for a waiver for the entrance grade to be more than the 6% allowed. And you should have that in your packet so you can review it. Site distance information, if we could have that added to the plan. Vehicle turning and emergency access. So there's a little bit of a truck maneuverability that needs to be made sure of. Emergency vehicle circulation, sort of gives you the same data, if you would. And then confirmation that large vehicles don't need to back out into Eastern Drive. Parking lot landscaping and screening. There is some questions in there about the proposed LID stormwater features satisfy the parking lot landscaping requirements and whether additional screening might be required, and that's something that I'm sure Mr. Morrow will discuss. And then the loading bay requirement. So the board needs to determine whether this type of contractor space is required to have off-street loading bays at all. It's a requirement in the ordinance, but does it fit this situation or not is sort of the question. And with that, I turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Morrow.
Good evening. Andy Morrow, civil engineer with BH2M. The applicant, Josh Doucette, is here as well. So this has changed quite a bit since you guys had seen it at sketch plan review back in January. If you guys recall, this was two separate buildings, one on the northern side of the site, one on the southern, parking kind of in the middle. We went back and forth on what the best layout for this site was. I think we've settled on what works the best for a lot of different factors. We've got one building in the center of the site with parking on either side. The units have been shrunk down since you guys saw them. Now proposing 14 units in one building, 210 feet by 110 feet. All the utilities will be coming off of Eastern Drive. Stormwater is a bit unique in this case. We're collecting all of our stormwater with an open drainage system, directing our runoff to a focal point and a vegetated soil filter on the southern ends of the parcel. We are working through our DEP permitting currently. I think we can all agree this is an exciting project. It's a project that there's certainly a lot of demand for here in town. I think we can all agree that in the industrial park is the ideal location for a project of this nature. So we're really excited about this project. I think it's a great project for the town. We did have a meeting with staff last week. There were a number of issues that were talked about. It was a real productive meeting, I felt like. One of the items we talked about was the extension of Eastern Drive. The applicant is proposing a access drive on their own parcel connecting the two parking lots on either side of the building. They're also proposing to extend Eastern Drive as part of this. What we talked about was, could potentially the extension of Eastern Drive be done at a second phase of the project? Meaning, could the initial phase be constructed without the extension of Eastern Drive? We talked about that with staff. I think I heard that staff would be willing to support something along those lines. They wanted us to reach out to the fire chief, have a conversation with him to find out what his thoughts were on that approach. I talked to Kenny. Kenny was in support of putting the extension of Eastern Drive into phase 2 of the project. Our intention would be to add a note and a line on the plan that demarcates the phasing of that prior to you guys endorsing the plans. A few other minor items we talked about were master sign plan approval. The applicant will work with town staff on that. A waiver for the parking lot grade. This is, there's quite a bit of contours across this site. We were really trying to balance cut and fills across this site to make the constructability of this project work. In order to do that, the entrance on the southern side of the site does not meet the 2% requirement as you come off of Eastern Drive. It's at a 6% grade. So over 100 feet, we're raising 6 feet in vertical grade. We technically need a waiver for that requirement. I don't think it's something that creates an unsafe condition. I heard when we talked about it at the PRC meeting with staff, I think it was kind of supported that that seemed like a safe condition and seemed like something staff would be willing to consider. We did get the comments last week from the town. I think as Carol said, there's some comments there, but I think they're all pretty minor in nature that we can address prior to the board signing the plans. Some of the things we intend to make changes to moving forward, we will be sure to add some landscaping to the parking lot areas to meet that level of ordinance. I think there's some areas where we could add some potential grassed areas and some landscaping in the parking areas to kind of break that up. There, in the town comments, there was some discussion about pedestrian access. How do pedestrians access this site? What we did in this case, and this is what we talked about when we were here with a sketch plan, was the first 5 feet, if you will, off of the building. You can see the way I've got the striping for the paved parking spots in front of the buildings. I've pulled them off the buildings.
Which sheet, please?
It's on sheet 1 of the plans.
Thank you.
So if you look at the entrances to each of these units, there's a 5-foot paved area there where there'll be no cars parked there. That's kind of the pedestrian access of the site on either side of the buildings. That was the intention that we took on in that layout. We're going to work with the water district to get our ability to serve. We'll certainly have that prior to construction. We're happy to add the site distances along Eastern Drive. This entrance meets all applicable site distance requirements, but we'll be sure to add that to the plan. And I think that was all of them. I had one more thought in my head that I was thinking as Carol mentioned it, but I can't remember what I was thinking, but it'll come to me.
Can I add to it?
Please.
Pedestrian facilities, possible waiver, fee in lieu. The fee in lieu for sidewalks.
Yes.
Off-site.
Yep. I think that makes sense.
So 2 waivers possible.
Yep. Considering there's no sidewalks in the industrial park, I think that makes sense. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to throw it back to you and happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you. Please make yourself comfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. If there was anyone that would like to speak in favor of this project, please state your name and address, approach to the podium. Anyone? Anyone in favor of the project? I see no one rising. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who wishes to speak against this project, please approach the podium, state your name and address to the record. Again, I see no one rising. And finally, if there is anyone that is neutral that would just like to speak about this project, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Quiet evening. Anyone? Ladies and gentlemen, I will close the public hearing. Mr. Morrow?
Mr. Chair, Andy, a couple of questions.
Sure.
I like what you did in terms of changes from the sketch plan. I kind of remember what that was, so
great.
Some good stuff there. So will there be any storage of any materials outside the building by contractors allowed? No? Okay.
There will not be. And that brings me to my other point that I had forgot. There was a question in the comments about dumpsters, and I apologize for interrupting there, but the applicant does intend to install a couple dumpsters at the end of each parking area on the western ends of the parking lot, so.
Anytime you want to talk dumpsters, it's fine with me. Okay. Now, I take it most of the parking is probably employee parking?
Yes. So the applicant is really trying to market these towards contractors, tradesmen, a plumber who could come in and rent this space and use this facility.
Yeah.
So the parking we've proposed here is just to try to provide enough parking so that we're not going to limit any kind of use that meets the ordinance. We want to make sure that we have enough parking for what these people need on site.
Right. So there'd be it wouldn't be any retail operation in any of this, just strictly a home base for a contractor.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then one last question. Explain to me a little bit about the focal point
Yes.
stormwater system. Just not familiar with that.
Yeah, so it's a combination of two things. It's a focal point system, which is a subsurface system where you used a sand filter to treat the runoff. It then flows into an R-tank system, which I always describe them as milk crates. It's kind of a milk crate in the ground with some material in it that, again, filters the stormwater and discharges it. So it's a DEP-approved stormwater treatment system. It's becoming very popular. I know you guys have seen them on a bunch of projects over the last couple months. So I think it's something you're going to see a lot more of.
So where does it discharge to?
So I'm looking at sheet 1 here. There's a focal point and an R-tank system here that flows under the parking lot. Then there's another R-tank system here with an outlet control structure, and it discharges here.
Okay.
On the southwestern corner of the parcel.
All right. So the focal point is the first level of filtering.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
The 6% grade, is that
Yeah.
just where it connects to Eastern Drive, or is that someplace else on the property?
It's basically just right here. So we're coming up at a 6% grade instead of the required 2% for this entrance here.
Any impacted trailers? You're talking about contractors who might have trailers. Does that become an issue?
No. No.
Or we'll find out.
I mean, grades are funny, right? You look at them in a profile view, which has an exaggerated scale. You look at a 6% grade on a profile view and you're like, oh wow, that seems pretty steep. But if you think about it, go 100 feet away from me and go to my height, 6% is relatively flat. 6% grade is relatively flat. But you look at it on a profile view, it looks exaggerated. So I don't think a 6% grade is not going to be a problem for any kind of trailers getting into the site.
Any questions? Please, Mr. Frank.
Nice changes, Andy.
Great.
In terms of the two separate now traffic areas, if you will, off to the west, I guess it is the west, yeah, where you've got some snow storage marked areas. Absent snow, would there be room for trucks or something with the trailer to actually make like a U-turn without backing up and stuff?
Yeah, so that's one item that staff had asked us to look at. So keep in mind, each one of these units has a roll-up garage in the front of it. So you can see in front of each unit, we've left some open area where vehicles could come in, back up to the garage door and access the site. So this site has built-in areas to turn around at each one of these units along the way.
I see that now, yep, thanks.
Yep.
I remember asking you too, or maybe not asking you, but suggesting on the earlier plan where you had indicated for your ADA parking areas.
Yep.
And I asked, not that I expected a concrete answer, I said, can you wait and stripe those later after you find out the nature of the business that's going to occupy, so you can get your ADA spaces closest to where people might want to go into a showroom or something? Or does the law require you to already have them painted before you know who's going to be moving in?
I mean, in my mind, the pavement striping is going to be one of the last things that are done out there, right? I would like to think by then that some of these units we're understanding who's going to be there. This is a difficult site to lay out the ADA spaces because we're required to have 4 and we've got 14 units. So, you know, where do we prioritize putting these spaces? I think the applicant's going to be more than willing to try to do that at the later stage of the work to make sure that he accommodates to all the businesses that he has in there.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Questions, anyone?
I guess, oh, I'm sorry, Bob.
No question?
No, just if you had a tenant who was interested in wanted multiple, would you just modify to join them together?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Oh, liking it.
The application's pretty, the yellow has already been identified. Going once, going twice. Any ideas on this? Any motions, please?
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
I'm ready to read a motion to approve. That seems to be...
We've got 2 waivers I think we need to approve first.
All right,
So,
let's do those first. Go for it.
yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose a motion to approve a waiver to allow a 6% grade to the front access drive. For the proposal from Josh Yusette, Silverback LLC, located on map 12, lot 23-5.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Everyone understand? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. That was the first. Do you have another, sir?
I do. Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose a motion to approve a waiver to accept an in lieu fee for sidewalks with respect to the previously mentioned proposal.
Thank you, Colonel. Is there a second?
Second, Dave Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to grant Josh Doucette Silverback LLC a request for site plan approval for the Eastern Drive site plan located on map 12, lot 23-5 in the industrial zoning district based on findings of fact and conditions of approval as written by the town planner.
Thank you, Colonel. Is there a second, please? Thank you, Mr. Frank. Any other discussion? Nice job, Andy. We appreciate it. All those in favor? Any objections? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. How are we doing? Anyone need to take a 5-minute break? Ladies and gentlemen, we will take a 5-minute break, please. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday evening, August 3rd, 2026. This is a regular meeting of the Gorham Planning Board. We just took a brief recess. We're starting again. And this is, we're taking an item out of order. We are looking at item 4, which is now item 3. It's a public hearing, preliminary subdivision and site plan review, Southridge Condominium Association. A proposal to construct a 22-unit multifamily development and associated infrastructure on 4.33 acre parcel on South Street, zone urban residential, map 104, lot 14. The applicant, Anthony Fernandez, is represented by Silas Canavan?
Canavan.
I apologize. Thank you.
No problem.
With, I guess it's your consulting engineering firm. Thank you. Look to
Certainly.
staff to please introduce this.
This is the first planning board review of this proposal to construct the 22-unit multifamily condominium development on 4.33 acres. The project utilizes the Development Transfer Overlay District provisions and proposes public water, public sewer, a condominium-style driveway access point, open space, recreational amenities, and underground utilities. The outstanding items, one of them is a waiver request to allow Class B soil survey instead of the Class A survey, which would be allowed because they plan to connect to public sewer. They still need to submit their letter of financial capacity. They need to have, they need to submit the Portland Water District ability to serve letter. Also, the homeowners association documents, a photometric plan, a refinement of the sidewalk design and streetscape, and some of the items that the board should specifically discuss for development transfer is the side yard setback reduction that is allowed through that ordinance, and then reduced perimeter buffers. So in the development transfer overlay, this project proposes about a 13-foot setback on the south side, and the development transfer standards require 30 feet, but the board can allow less than that if it's in line with the neighborhood. So if the neighborhood all has 10 feet, let's say, then 13 feet would be above that. So what you want to be able to do is look at the abutting house locations and what are their setbacks on the side, and determine, is this in line with similar setbacks in the neighborhood? Same thing with the perimeter buffer. So there's a 50-foot buffer requirement on the north and south property lines, and they have proposed an alternate buffer measurement, and you would need to determine whether that satisfies the ordinance intent. And then the next item to discuss is, or things they need to resolve, not that you need to discuss it, but stormwater and environmental reviews. It's part of the review that your peer review engineer does. And with that, I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. Would you like to introduce the project?
Yeah, thank you. My name's Silas Canavan with Canavan Civil Consulting, civil engineer for the project. I'm here representing Anthony Fernandez, who is the applicant, also happens to be a resident of Gorham as well. Also have Alan Shepard here, the attorney for Mr. Fernandez. So thank you, Carol, for the rundown. Just to add a little more detail, project is at 157 South Street. Map 104, lot 14, and it's directly across from Bramblewood Ave, if that helps you orient yourself a little bit. Here's Bramblewood, and then there's Main Street up here, if you can see my cursor on the screen. So this is the existing conditions plan we're looking at right now. So the site is 4.3 acres, and there's currently just one single-family house on the lot in a lawn area that essentially surrounds it. There's a number of wetlands in the back of the site, and there's also some vernal pools that have been identified, but they've also been assessed, and they've all been determined to be non-significant vernal pools from the DEP perspective. So that really reduces the number of restrictions that are applied to the project when they're non-significant. So the proposed project, you can see on this plan, this is the overall site plan. We made a few changes from the last time you saw this at sketch plan. A lot of those were based on the feedback we got from you folks at the sketch plan meeting. Probably the biggest change that we've made is originally we had the drive entrance up near the northern property corner. And the reason for that at the time was just because of our wetland impact restrictions, because we had to assume there were significant vernal pools at the time. But now, since we're allowed to have a little bit of wetland impact, which we wouldn't have otherwise, we were able to move the site access down directly across from Bramblewood Ave. It's a much better intersection location, and it actually meets the separation requirements from both the driveways to the north and the south on the west side of the street. So I don't believe we need a waiver from that, as we thought we would need last time, because we can meet those separation distances. With this layout, it also brings the parking lot more centralized, and I know that was a concern that was brought up by the board last time, with the parking being relatively far away from some of the units on the property. So this one, with the parking lot between all the units, obviously it's a much more shorter walking distance from your car to your home. I should have mentioned this earlier, but base density does allow for 12 units on this, but as Carol mentioned, we are utilizing the development transfer overlay standards here. That would actually allow a density of 24 units, but we're proposing 22 units, which is what we were proposing during sketch plan as well, so that has not changed. Another change that we have made from the last, from sketch plan is we've reduced the trail system. Before we had it going through some of the wetlands in the back of the property, but now we've limited it to just the upland in the upper left-hand corner. You can see that dark dash line on the plan. That's just a small trail loop for, residents to go out and, enjoy the woods, walk your dog, whatever. We were gonna also put a couple of park benches out there, so if somebody wants to sit, read a book, whatever, there's some opportunity there for them to enjoy the woods. We also have a couple of additional active open space areas, which should be this lawn area on the north side of the property. We're also proposing to have a picnic table out there, kind of in the northeast corner, and we were proposing a pedestal mounted charcoal grill that the residents can use if they choose to. And between that and also a bench at the trailhead here too. And we thought we'd provide some facilities there for trash, that sort of thing. From an open space perspective, there's a number of different open space requirements for a development transfer overlay project, we do meet them all, and we exceed all the minimum areas pretty significantly in this. We've clustered all of the development, as you can see, in sort of the northeast corner of the property. That's to keep everything in the upland area as much as possible. We've minimized our wetland impact to less than 4,300 square feet, which would be the DEP threshold for a permit from them. And what that also allows us to do is put, basically the remainder of the site into open space and preserve it that way, essentially. So actually 75% of this site is going to be put into open space and will not be developed. So that's pretty significant, much higher than what is actually required for that open space from the development transfer overlay. For parking, we've got 28 spaces are required. We are providing 29 spaces in the parking lot. If you remember, there was some discussion about possibly doing some on-street parking as well, which would be above and beyond the requirements for parking. It's not required by ordinance, and they wouldn't count towards our parking count anyway. But by moving the drive aisle down, that reduces the amount of space we have for on-street parking. And then also, as we were looking at it a little bit closer too, we were getting, starting to run into some sight distance issues for the abutting driveway to the south especially, for, you know, having cars there as you're trying to pull out, just reduces sight distance pretty dramatically. And for those reasons, and only really being able to fit a few spaces in, it really wasn't financially feasible to add those additional 2 or 3 extra spaces on the street. We did have a conversation with that with town staff at the staff review meeting too, and they seemed to be pretty on board with that as well. But of course, they can chime in if they have other opinions about that. Utilities, sewer, water, underground, public water, public sewer, underground electric, site lighting throughout the site. We do have a photometric plan. We'll get that submitted to the follow-up. We do have our ability to serve letter from the Portland Water District that came in shortly after we submitted, so for both sewer and water, so we'll get that submitted as well. Stormwater from the site, everything from the parking lot drains to a focal point system, a Filterra system in the sort of the, I guess I call it the southeast corner of the parking lot there. Filterra system similar to a focal point system that was discussed earlier tonight. So high filtration, small footprint, high rate filtration, small footprint, and then discharges to, some of it will go to the back of the site, some of it will go to the street, and the drainage system in the street. We also have drip edges behind most of the buildings, so that'll capture a lot of the runoff from the roofs, and also in the front of some of the buildings as well, along especially the ones along the road frontage. Those will all have drip edges on both sides, so those will capture, treat, and provide stormwater detention as well. I know there was some concern about stormwater in the back. We do know that there's water back there sometimes, and our stormwater management system through all the detention, detention BMPs and filtration BMPs, and depending on where the water is flowing, we've actually reduced the amount of stormwater that's going to be flowing to the back of the site. So our stormwater calcs show that both peak flow rates are going to be reduced, but not only that, but the actual total volume draining to the back of that site is going to be reduced as well. So there really would be no impact to that existing drainage system in the back, and if anything, a slight improvement. We also have a pervious paver system too, and behind some of these units that are on the north side. So the patios back there will act as both patio to be used, but also a stormwater management system as well underneath. Again, as Carol had mentioned, there are a couple things we'd like to discuss with the planning board. One of them is the setbacks. So as Carol mentioned, the development transfer overlay has a 30-foot building setback. We meet that on the north side of the property, so that's not an issue there. On the south side, we're a little bit closer. Again, it's an effort to minimize the overall wetland impact on this site. So it's all existing lawn area that's there right now. We're about 13 feet away from the property line with the first building. The existing setback is it's 12.7 feet to, I believe it's a garage, it's a double bay garage there. But that's the minimum setback. So, it's our opinion that we're meeting that typical setback of the adjacent property. Also, if you were to look down, I'm sure obviously everyone has driven down this street numerous times, but there's quite a few houses there, pretty clustered, close together. Certainly not 60 feet between houses as a 30-foot setback on either side would provide, especially if you look down Bramblewood Lane. The houses are pretty tight there as well. So it's our opinion that, we do still match the character of the neighborhood to the extent practical in this situation, and it also helps us, again, reduce the total amount of wetland impact for the project. The other buffering requirement is the 50-foot buffer around the perimeter of the property. In this one, I've actually got another exhibit or two I'd like to show, because I think this will help explain this one a little. So again, our current layout is, sorry, bear with me for a second. Our current layout is designed to cluster the new development up in the northeast corner as much as we can. This red line that you see on this plan is a 50-foot setback from the perimeter of the site. So as you can see, that really eliminates quite a bit of the upland area on the property, and it would really force a lot more impact to wetlands, and it would push all of the site further back into towards the center of the property and back, which is really where most of the wetlands are on this property. So this is showing that from an existing condition standpoint. The next plan I'm going to show is, this one is showing, again, so it's showing that red line, which is the 50-foot buffer around the perimeter. The orange areas that you see hatched there, those are the areas where we have less than that 50-foot setback. But what you can see is that we've got, we're proposing fencing and additional landscaping along the northern property line. And again, we're trying to utilize that upland area. So I think we're going to have some decent buffering there. That fence on that side too is actually raised up about 3 feet from existing grade. So between the 6-foot high fence and 3 feet of fill, you've got essentially a 9-foot barrier there to the abutting properties to the north. And then obviously as the trees mature and fill in, there will be more to that as well. On the southern side, again, we're trying to utilize the existing lawn area that's already there. This is the one with the reduced setback already from that site. But again, we are proposing, same thing, a 6-foot high fence there. We don't have quite as much fill in this area, but we have a 6-foot high fence. And we're proposing a pretty dense row of evergreen trees along that property line as well. So in those areas that we are reducing the buffer, we are trying to supplement that as much as we can. And then you can see the rest of the site, we've obviously well exceeded the 50-foot buffer in just about everywhere else. And again, similar to, the standard here is that you're supposed to match the similar character to the neighborhood. I'm sure you all know it pretty well, but, there's houses are pretty close together. Most houses have, one row of landscaping maybe between them, a few fences here and there, but there's certainly not any real wide swaths of vegetation in between the existing houses in this part of the neighborhood. So again, it's our opinion that both the setback reduction and the buffering reduction do still meet the character of the neighborhood, so we're hoping that you do too, but we'd happy to talk about that. We are requesting a waiver from the Class A high-intensity soil survey. We will provide a Class B if the waiver is granted, which we hope it will because we are on public sewer and this project does not require net residential density calculation. So those were the big things I wanted to touch on. So I'll hand it back over to you, Mr. Chair, and take any questions.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. I have a sign-in sheet. Let me begin by asking Ann Kennedy. Ann Kennedy, these are people that are against the project right now.
Mr. Chair, is this 3 minutes?
We can go 3 minutes, I think. I'm looking. Consensus, 3 minutes? Okay, 3, please.
Hi, my name is Ann Kennedy. I live on Laurel Pines Drive in Gorham. In the 4.33 acre parcel at 157 South Street, 139,141 square feet or 3.19 acres is indicated as open space, which is generically defined as without buildings and parking lots. 4.33 acres minus 3.19 acres leaves a balance of 1.14 acres. So 5 buildings with 22 units with a first floor unit footprint of 405 square feet are proposed for that 1.14 acre. In formulating the guidelines of the Development Transfer Overlay District, I am wondering if Gorham had in mind squeezing so many units plus parking lot plus required recreation space into what seems to me such a very small space. That seems like very high density. Can the recreation requirement be waived? Can there be less units? The property is also located within the Affordable Housing District. If the Development Transfer Overlay is meant to encourage affordability, I would think that higher units squeezed into a small space makes that affordable for developers, but not necessarily for buyers. I see new condos advertised at $500,000 to $600,000. I think we need to be careful to balance affordability with what makes Gorham, Gorham. Multifamily dwellings, according to the development transfer overlay, in developed areas shall retain and respect existing streetscape and character of the neighborhood. In the scale of the proposed buildings will respect the scale of the buildings in the existing neighborhood. I don't see neighboring houses that are that close as what is proposed in this project. Wright Pierce states that the project is in the municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4, urbanized area and will disturb more than an acre. Therefore, compliance with Chapter 250, Article 2, Post-Construction Stormwater Management of Town Code is necessary. Wright Pierce recommends updating the 25-year storm event model to a 2-year and 10-year design storm events model. The proposed construction of the residential units and driveway will impact 4,287 square feet of wetland. Disturbing hydric soils of wetlands with heavy machinery causes soil instability, as oxygen-poor soils lose all load-bearing strength when churned up. While disturbing the existing ecosystem in the regular methods of drainage, will runoff pool in the parking lots in the back. I know you have a drainage in the front that goes into South Street, but in the back, where will that water go? Will it go into the man-made vernal pool that will then go into the back wetlands area and storm drains in the Laurel Pines properties and possibly basements?
Thank you. Jennifer Kennedy, please.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Kennedy, and for over 30 years of my life, I have grown up on Laurel Pines Drive in Gorham, so I'm very familiar with the wetlands that border our neighborhood, which is why I was so disheartened to hear of these plans for item 4 on today's agenda and the intention to build a 22-unit condominium development all over it.
You have 3 minutes.
Yep.
You have 3 minutes.
I really have to question, who does this really benefit? It for sure doesn't benefit the plants and wildlife that call these wetlands home. There's a family of 5 or 6 deer who survive on the food supplies of the wetlands, countless flocks of mallards, ducks, and other waterfowl who pit stop there, amongst many other families of animals that are too many to name. And I know our current wildlife protections may not protect them from this development, but if you're going to destroy their homes, they deserve to be recognized and acknowledged. For years, this area was protected by the Army Corps of Engineers. I would question how one recent study initiated by the applicant suddenly makes those years of protection seem less significant. This application also doesn't seem, in my opinion, to benefit its future tenants. I am disappointed in the sudden trend in Gorham and other towns of jam-packing dozens of identical units all together right up against each other, where the tenants are granted no privacy or individuality, or even a yard to truly call their own. When my parents bought their house in the 90s, they paid around $100,000 for a very small starter home with a yard. If these units are going to be sold for today's standard real estate prices, I wouldn't be surprised if tenants would be forced to shell out over $400,000 for a unit that is 2/3 the size of my parents' home and for more than 4 times the price. The house affordability crisis is a three-part problem. Yes, building more houses is the first part, but the other 2 problems are living wages and inflation. Maine's minimum wage has been stuck at $15 an hour for years, and in today's inflation rates, as well as the prices of gas and groceries being sky high, I can't think of anyone my age being able to afford an apartment at $15 an hour, let alone a condominium. In order to have the spending power of our parents in the 80s or 90s, we would literally have to make over $60 an hour. So fixing only one part of this 3-part problem solves nothing. Instead, it takes advantage of supply and demand to make a lot of money off of people who are desperate for the human right of having a roof over their heads. By supporting this trend, you are supporting the idea of giving people crumbs for the price of cake. Finally, the development also doesn't seem to benefit the surrounding neighbors of these units. For years, that area has struggled with flooding. As we continue to struggle with the ramifications of global warming and unprecedented storms and rainfall in recent years, I can only imagine how messing with the delicate ecosystem of that area could potentially overload the entire infrastructure and cause tumultuous flooding to both the tenants and neighboring houses. But since the storm drains of that area fall beyond the jurisdiction of the applicant's land, this did not seem to be a concern for the applicant's representation during the first planning board meeting, nor would this be something that the applicant would have to deal with once the units are sold. That would be a problem that would fall to the tenants and neighbors of the area, which is unfair, and I fear that this could cause years of ripple effects that we can't even fathom. I would ask that this application not be rushed. And we ask the applicant to think of these concerns and find a better solution that could benefit everyone. Why do we need 22 units crammed in there? Wouldn't it be more beneficial to have a few units and give them more room? We can do better, and we should do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Meredith Bullard, is it Bullard? Bullard. Apologize.
Hi, my name is Meredith Bullard. I live directly behind this property. I believe when we were sold our property a couple years ago, said wetlands are protected, you'll never have to worry about them. I understand we need more growth. I know we need more housing. Just simply asking that we do it in a responsible way. I brought photographs today showing the typical spring conditions of the thaw and the snow melt, how the water comes into our neighboring homes, and the habitat that they provide for all of the neighborhoods, as mentioned by my other neighbors. I hope they provide a helpful context, because at the time you would do a site visit, the site would be dry. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what it actually looks like in a typical kind of light snow year. So the big risk that we see is the flooding and the stormwater management and what that looks like to us. You'll see in those pictures how close the vernal pool comes to our property. So we're at real risk because the catch basin does come outside of this property. So those of us on Laurel Pines will fall responsible to the ramifications. So I would ask that we not waiver the soil testing. I think any information is going to be good for this. I'm also concerned about the privacy. Us on the western side, we're using the wetlands as a buffer, but those are not evergreen trees. And so during half of the year, we will be able to see the full extent of this neighborhood. We also already hear residents on Bramblewood Drive, so I can only imagine what the noise is going to look like for us on our side. We also have a young daughter, so I'm very concerned about having a trail in my backyard that invites people into the wetland, and who's going to be responsible for that trash and management. So I do carefully consider, asking whether the trail is actually worth it. There's plenty of open space already. But the privacy and the stormwater management are going to be my greatest concern. So I hope that you take a look at the pictures and see what a light snow season looks like and the vast amount of flooding. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone else that wishes to speak against this project? Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Again, anyone opposed to this project? Thank you. Moving on. Anyone neutral to this project? Dean Belanger, please. Dean.
Yes, my name is Dean Belanger, and I live at 167 South Street, which is in the south corner of that lot. It's 10414-2. Several of the questions I had about this project have been answered. That's why I'm staying neutral at this point in time. I liked seeing how the design was. My garage and my driveway sit within that 13 feet that they were talking about. I like the idea of the trees and the fence, and I can't really go against having that last condominium having any problem with that waiver, where my property is within that same range. The only question I do have is with those condominiums on the south side, on South Street itself, how much fill is going to be taking place in that vacant area next to my property before the tree line and the wetlands. I'm sure that's going to have to be built up some, because in the past, before the town added some drainage when they put in the sidewalks for the new junior high. That consistently flooded. So I'm concerned that there's going to have to be some fill there to avoid some water problems for those condominiums in that point. Gorham is consistently trying to get into the top 15 of population size for the state of Maine. We're a large community. I understand the need for growth. When I moved on South Street 29 years ago, I knew what I was getting into. I would like to maybe see if we could reduce a few of the condominiums, but just because that is a small plot of land, and I really wouldn't like to see the area turned into like another Fay Lane, which is across the street on South Street. But all in all, I like what I see so far, and if I have any further questions, I have no problem with coming to the planning office and asking those questions. But right now, I'd like to stay neutral on this project and help Gorham grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belanger. Ms. Ballard, do you want the photos back? Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone else that is neutral about this project? Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Dave Perkins. I live at 175 South Street. And I have two comments. One is, what will be the recourse of the property abutters where the wetlands flood? Say, if once the property's built, you can't go back and take the property apart to redo a pipe or the runoff. So what recourse do we have if the water level goes real high? Another one is, will the town council look into possibly a first responders system for the intersection of Weeks and South? Because with the added volume of homes coming in, that's more kids, that's more parents, that's more buses going onto the street. When you have an emergency vehicle running through that intersection, it's not set up to where the light changes green where they can run through. The system that is on Main Street, if you've been there when that happens, the lights change to a certain way where it allows traffic stop to move on and the cross traffic to stop, so there won't be any interference with first response vehicles. That is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone else that would like to speak that is neutral to this project?
Hello. There. I'm Peggy Marchand. I live at 150 South Street, and I am neutral, and I've been neutral for a long time. Since I've been living there, we've had Southwoods, Laurel Pines, Bramblewood, Baxter Lane rather, Fay Lane, the Irving retrofit and new street called Lucky Lane. We have had Roby Woods, so I can stand in my front yard and look to the right, I can look to the left, I can look across the street, I can look behind me, and I get to see developments. So my big concern is two things. One is lights. I've had conversations before with Mrs. Ironman, and she explained that lights need to be put in with a fixture so the light goes down. And so I would love if that could happen right now, because a brand new wall that's on a house has a light. It's gorgeous. It looks really great. But I can no longer sit at the dining room table in my house if the light is on, because it shines directly into the people sitting on that side of the table. However, the people sitting on the other side of the table now have a light from Ridgeway Avenue, which also shines into their eyes. So we run around as hosts and hostesses, pulling the shades and feeling like we live in a cave. Just wanted you to know that. So earlier people talked about this idea of, we have ordinances, but do we know if the ordinances are being enforced? So when another development comes in, we start talking about the same issues, and you must be sick to death of them. But what are we going to do about lights? It's not just us, animals, and I know people are sitting in here rolling their eyes when someone talks about animals, but animals need to sleep too. And we don't have darkness anymore. When I first lived in my house, I could see the Pleiades, the Big Dipper, and I could see many, many constellations. And now I can scarcely see a star. Maybe it doesn't bother the rest of you, but it is a beautiful thing that we've lost, and it would be nice if we could do something that really, really took care of light problems as our density grows. The other thing is the issue of traffic, and traffic is unbelievable right now on South Street. I don't have to go to work anymore, so I can sit, have my coffee, and watch the traffic every morning during school times. And it's been unbelievably busy, of course, with the reconstruction of sidewalks, which we're really excited about on South Street. But what are we going to do with all the cars? 22 units means maybe 44 cars coming out in the morning. People say, no, they'll just have one car, but that's not necessarily the truth. So those are my concerns, that we really need to pay attention. We keep talking about what is the character of Gorham, but then the character of Gorham is disappearing before our very eyes. So I am neutral because I know we have to have housing and we got to suck it up and make it good. So I'm asking all of us to work together to really make sure we make it good. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Marshall. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone else neutral to this project? Anyone? Anyone? I see no one rising. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this project? Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Going once? Going twice? Anyone? I will close the public hearing, please. Thank you. Would you like to approach? Thank you. Members of the board, questions? Please.
Okay, let's go back on the buffers, and Carol, I guess this question is kind of to Carol and to the applicant. I appreciate the comments of Mr. Belanger that he's okay with the buffer, but I guess I get some questions about it. When we talk about the character of the neighborhood and that the buffer, we can waive the buffering requirement if the proposed buffer meets the character of the neighborhood. But what doesn't, and I kind of get that, but then what doesn't match the current character of the neighborhood, because it's all new, is having a multi-family, well, a multi-unit building, essentially row townhouses, right there. So is that an applicable standard or applicable protocol to say, oh yeah, we can minimize the buffer because you just, right now you have 15 feet between homes or 20 feet between homes, and we can allow 13 feet here because that's what's around, but it's 13 feet up to a row of 7 units. I'm not sure, is that apples to apples or apples to oranges?
I'll try to speak. So, and paraphrase, I came to the planning office shortly or as part of the development transfer was being drafted by the town council. So I'm going to try to kind of figure out what the council was trying to do. So multifamily can mean a lot of things, right? So I think when that ordinance was being drafted, think of a multifamily building that's a big box, right? So I think the council wanted to put enough buffer requirements and safety standards for a neighborhood that should a multi-tenant bed that's more like a box that has 12 or 16 units can fit into a neighborhood and have enough buffer standards. The issue with town home style developments that's being proposed here is it kind of looks like single family, but because they're touching together, they get pulled into a multi-family performance standard. So it's a little like if this development had let's say 5-foot separation between these units, they don't need to meet that standard. They would probably meet what we have in our ordinance. So there's a little bit of, you've got to try to figure out that this isn't like all multifamilies, and so you've got to kind of figure out that. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah, I'm just saying, so would we asked to waive the 30-foot requirement in this situation? Is that correct? Is that way, am I understanding?
I think go to a different buffer requirement.
It's not spelled out in the packet that I saw.
We're on a search for it right now.
So it's not a waiver, we just allow it? Okay.
That's my understanding.
So we're working, so I think the planning board needs to understand that there buffer and setback are two different terms that mean two different things. So
True, and I might be mixing terms there.
no, and that's perfectly fine. So I've asked the town planner to look at the buffering requirement. I think if I understand correctly, the 13 foot from 30 is a request to reduce the setback requirement on the sides. That is spelled out directly in the underlying zone. So that, I've been moving around a lot here. Okay. So, pardon me while so the specific space standards that are applicable in the development transfer overlay district speak to a required 30-foot side setback, side and rear, that's applicable to multifamily dwellings. But that can be reduced based on this standard, which I'll read into the record. New buildings constructed, so for multifamily dwellings, apartments, or mixed use, which is what this is, new buildings constructed in existing neighborhoods shall be located in such a manner as to maintain the established relationship of existing neighboring structures to the side setbacks. When no such relationship exists, the minimum setback shall be identified per use type, and the minimum setback is 30 feet. So if the planning board could find that the established relationship, which is the term of art that's used in that standard, is between existing buildings, or I should say, the established relationship in the neighborhood between existing buildings and their side lot lines.
Right.
If that is less than 30 feet, then the planning board could effectively apply a smaller setback.
Right.
So it's hard to categorize exactly what that is. I wouldn't call it a waiver because the standard effectively is flexible. The way that the council has written it allows flexibility in the determination by the planning board of what the applicable side setback is.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it answers the question, I guess, but in my mind, I see a difference in when you're going from a single-family home side setback to a single-family home versus when you're going from a single-family home and then crossing the lot line to a row of, what's the length of 7 units?
Oh, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Ballpark.
I think they're each 17 feet wide, so 18.
119 feet.
Thanks.
Oh, no, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's
No, I'm looking at the assembly.
So I'm just saying that's where I'm coming to my apples and oranges thing. It's like, wow, I guess I would prefer to see the greater side setback to a long building. That would be my personal preference.
So how does that reconcile with the buffer requirement?
So, thank you.
It seems weird that the buffer requirement is larger than the setback requirement, and somehow we could be good with one but not the other.
I can let I'll let the planners explain they're probably better at explaining the differentiation between a setback and a buffer than I would, although I can try, but.
The setback is for the distance of a structure, which might be a garage or a house, from the property line. A buffer is different. It could be 100 foot. In the case of Amazon, a buffer is used to buffer an industrial thing from a residential. In that case, you're filling it up with plants, which that's the same exact thing here. It requires plantings, and that's the buffer.
But why would the buffer requirement be 50 feet and require a waiver, but the setback is only 30 feet? It seems incongruous.
And yes, it might be. I would say that could be, and we might look at that to make the match a little bit better. However, in this case, there's a setback that is variable, given the neighborhood condition.
That, but it's still not close to 50. So,
I see your point.
Because most properties in this neighborhood don't have 50-foot setbacks.
I see your point.
They have or 50-foot buffers. They have variable setbacks, but they don't have 50-foot buffers. So is that a multifamily unit requirement, or is that supposed to be applied? I don't remember this typically coming up in other projects that we've reviewed.
It's a specific requirement.
Because it's a multifamily.
It's a combination of the multifamily as well as the development transfer, which doesn't come up very much in front of you.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're packing the density in.
The one thing that I would add to hopefully clarify that distinction is that the setbacks are zone specific, right? So they apply to any proposed use within the transfer overlay district. The buffering requirements that are being looked at here are use specific. So while they can be a bit incongruous, they apply in different situations and apply to, in theory, to deal with different issues. There may be, at least in the opinion of the council when these were drafted, different, for instance, a larger multifamily type of use requires, at least in the opinion of the council, larger buffering. It is true that they may not necessarily talk to each other. Perhaps they should better. That's not very good English that I just used, but ultimately it's up for the planning board, and I think as Mr. Walsh just alluded to, the planning board needs to be the one to make the finding, at least as to the requested reduction in the setback of what the prevailing character of that neighborhood is. And unfortunately, you're not provided much guidance by the ordinance, and so you're going to need to parse that language. The buffering requirement, though, is being requested as a waiver, correct?
Now I'm confused.
Well, so there is a buffering requirement that is applicable to multifamily dwellings. There is also a setback requirement that is applicable to all structures.
Could I give you my opinion on that? So the way that I interpret the ordinance, the buffer setback reduction is very similar to the buffer width reduction is very similar. It's worded in a very similar way to the structure setback. And it just says the planning board may allow it to be reduced. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't appear to rise to the level of requiring a waiver.
I think it's more like
That's a fair
finding.
characterization. Yeah.
A finding that it's appropriate, rather than a waiver per se.
I think that's a fair characterization, yes.
Now, I would say in terms of the side yard setback, it deals, the way it's written, it asks you to look at the entire neighborhood. It's a little difficult to judge the neighborhood by one abutting measurement. You might ask the applicant to do a little more study of a certain perimeter.
So I just want to clarify, the 50-foot buffer requirement, is that in the village residential district? Or is it, where did you?
It is in 300, 2.9. and 302.27C8. It's mentioned in the landscape peer review. So if you look on page 9, it talks about the landscape buffer at the bottom. It refers, development transfer refers you to the cluster residential development, even for multifamily.
So the 50-foot buffer, Tom, is referred to as a performance standard for cluster residential development in 302.27. Or
Development transfer sends you to the clustered residential.
Oh,
And so
okay.
that gives you the buffer language. And 2.27C8 is in the cluster part of the ordinance. It's a little.
Yeah. That's a case where you're referring to too many sections of an ordinance that have been amended over time. So that's where the inconsistency comes when you refer to an ordinance that has different buffer requirements. So I think really, I think the board should, one, decide about the 30-foot setback and then work through what a buffer requirement is as part of it. I think the applicant has identified peer reviews, the development transfer, work through the development transfer. I understand that it refers to another section, but if it's inconsistent with another section, we'll just have to fix it as part of the findings, I think, for the site.
Possibly. Okay. I have a question on a different topic, if we're done with that one. The impact to wetlands, I appreciate the public speaking and the pictures and so forth. Pretty impactful. So the impact to wetlands, it's not called out in the findings that this triggers any special review or special impact. I'm assuming that's because of the percentage of impact to wetlands that's identified.
The wetland impact falls underneath reviews. It's tiny. Most of the development stays out of the wetland.
Right.
In other words.
So it doesn't trigger any more significant
That's true.
mitigation.
That's true. Yes.
But I'm confused on that, because it looks to me like the majority of that property is wetlands. It's all
But they're not.
vernal pool.
Oh, I'm sorry, pardon me. They're not constructing in the middle of it.
Right.
If you were disturbing the wetland, in order to use that term, you would be constructing in the middle of it. They're not constructing in the middle of it. Therefore, they're not disturbing the wetland in the way we classify that. They're building near it. They're building next to it, but they're not building in it, which is completely different.
And they're not directing any stormwater, any drainage, anything into that vernal pool.
I would ask.
We're going to make sure that
I
all
would
that is going the other way.
Ask the engineer to be very specific about what's happening with the stormwater.
Would you like me to answer that question? Yeah, okay. All right, first, let me show a plan that has it identifies where all the wetland impacts are. So I think that'll help clear some of this up. Where are we? Okay, here we go. Let's make it bigger. All right, so on this plan, you can see these dark crosshatch areas here. Are you able to see those? Those are the areas where we're proposing to fill wetlands. So you can see it's really just kind of on on the fringe of all these wetlands. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got a very small one. It's hard to see there associated with the trail. So we've got 5 very small wetland impact areas on the fringe of the wetlands. So all the rest of the wetlands are not being touched at all with the construction for this project. Now to answer the second question about stormwater, we have, so our stormwater system is designed so that stormwater is captured in multiple different stormwater BMPs. Behind every single building, there's a stormwater drip edge and or a pervious paver patio. So all that roof runoff runs directly into that, passes through the drip edge and the pervious pavers into that filtration system. They're also sized to actually hold a lot of that volume. And then it's slowly released. Now most of the foundation, slowly released through the foundation drains. Most of the foundation drains on this property will be draining to the street, and they drain at a very slow rate to the street. There is one building, this unit, 3 unit right here, that foundation drain does actually drain out into the wetland area. But again, at a very, very slow rate, and that's just the back half of that roof of that building. The entire parking lot in the front of these buildings that are facing it all drains through the parking lot area into a stormwater filter right in this corner, and then the treated runoff will run out into the street. Now for larger storms, there is an overflow, and that will direct some of that runoff back into the wetland area. But again, as I had mentioned before, the overall volume, even in those large storms, has been reduced significantly, the amount of water that's actually going to drain there, because... yeah.
Reduced from what?
From the existing condition. So when we do our stormwater calculations, we can calculate both the existing volume of stormwater that's generated and directed to any site, any part of the site we want to, and then we can also compare that to the proposed volume and rate of stormwater runoff going to either any place we want to. So in this case, both the stormwater rate, which means the peak flow rate of stormwater leaving the site, and the overall volume throughout a 24-hour storm is less in the proposed condition than it is in the pre-development condition. And the reason for that is because a lot of the site is, being redirected towards the street, but it's also being detained for a while in the numerous stormwater BMPs that we have. So it's being slowly released over time.
So did you just say that it's currently being maintained on the property because it's natural property, and now it's going to be draining? I didn't...
Well, so most of the stormwater from this site on the existing condition, as it is now, drains to the back of the site.
Into the wetlands?
Yes. So we're taking some of that area and we're redirecting some of that stormwater, and we're also passing it through stormwater BMPs, which detain that stormwater for a certain amount of time, longer than would typically be held by just overland flow into another, stormwater basin. So it's slowly released into the street, in this case, by most of the development area. The only thing that will be continuing to drain to the back, again, is an overflow from one of those stormwater BMPs. But again, even when that overflow kicks on, still, when that's a 25-year storm that we're modeling, there's still less stormwater going to the back of the site than there currently is now.
So a follow-up question on that. What about snow? I mean, it looks to me like snow storage, the natural place is back where your dumpster is actually. Will snow melt, snow banks pushed off the pavement, which is probably the natural thing will happen. It looks to me, if I'm reading your grading right, that they would then leach back into the wetland. Would that be correct?
Yeah, stormwater, snow plowed off would flow into the wetland.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be captured on the pavement and flow out to the street.
Correct.
So you're going to have the impact of snow melt with salt, most likely melting back and flowing back into the wetland.
Yeah, whatever's in the snow will be,
Yep.
yeah.
Please, Mr. Frank.
Following up on the snow thing, excuse me. Well, a couple things. One, the first one down in the lower right corner by Mr. Belanger's property, which is graciously said he doesn't mind it being too close. You've got a small snow storage area indicated there, but on another one of your diagrams, you're showing that you're going to be planting trees. So I'm wondering how you're going to get your dump trucks there if you got trees are in the way. I mean, just
Yeah, I mean, if there's a conflict with a landscape, we could potentially move that. I mean, I think that's just, intended for, the sidewalk snow. That's not going to be a significant amount of roadway snow that's plowed there.
Oh, so you'll be
That's
bringing
just,
it in from the street?
yeah,
instead
if you look at
of-
where that's located, it's just the end of the sidewalk. So, it'll be a pretty minimal amount there.
Oh, yeah, makes sense, thank you. And then my other one, up in the top center, you've got a snow storage area that's, looks to be right at the end of Chief Fickett's fire lane. I'm wondering if he's not going to object to you piling snow in the way of his trucks.
Well, it'd be beyond the edge of the pavement, so it would not be in the actual turnaround area. The pavement would have to remain clean.
So Chief, I'm assuming you're okay with not being able to get your trucks behind the dwellings? Okay, thank you.
Please.
Just because we're talking about the snow removal, is it possible that wherever the dumpster is, that you don't put snow back there, that you keep it away from there so snow and dumpster juice doesn't mix and go into our wetlands? And just use the other two places where there actually really only have one for plowing snow?
We could limit it to that, yeah. It would just, it would mean that the association would have to remove snow if there was too much to stockpile. But I would also, the only thing I would add to that is the dumpster is actually pitched so it flows back into the parking lot, not back towards the wetland. So any, goo or whatever, as you said, will actually flow towards the parking lot and into the stormwater treatment system and not directly into the wetland.
Thank you. So your title sheet at the top says South Street Village in these application pages, calling it Southridge Condominium Association.
Typo.
Okay.
Apologize. The name changed at
I got a few more.
very end.
I'm looking back on sheet A1, elevation views of these buildings.
Way in the back.
And I can refer back and forth to S100, but on A1 are the elevation views, and it says units 4 to 10.
These are conceptual, this is basically what the units are going to look like. We can correct numbering if we need to.
I don't mind, but it should say conceptual in my
But they are all going to look the same. That is the plan.
All right, and the same with A2, it's unit 1, unit 4 through 10.
Yep.
It was confusing me, to say the least. That's all I have.
Yeah, I just wanted to get, just hear from the town engineer on the water situation.
We talking pre and post development?
Yes.
Yes.
And their plan for wastewater.
For
I'm sorry, stormwater removal.
yeah.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, so that gets reviewed by our peer review engineer. I could clarify, just there is the discussion that was being had about pre and post development. I think, Barbara, if there's any clarity there, the pre-development scenario is what they evaluate against for their design. So they need to prove hydraulically that they're not increasing the stormwater flow off-site in the post-development condition. So that's what he's talking about is after this gets built, what they're capturing, treating, and then ultimately outflowing into the town system is causing less runoff to the back half of this property than its pre-development condition. So. that answer your question?
Yeah, so you're basically blessed off on the plan that they have. I mean, that meets the stated.
Yes, one note within the peer review comments that we discussed at our meeting was taking a look at the public infrastructure to make sure whatever they're proposing to go off-site into our facilities doesn't overwhelm that system, and that's something that we discussed with the applicant as well.
So that's still pending?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
So I'd like to discuss parking. So we have 22 units, correct? 22 units?
Correct.
Yeah, you have 28 or 29 spaces?
28 are required, we're providing 29.
28 are required. Okay, so you got 29, so we have 7 extra spaces beyond. So if you have 1 car per unit, we have, the parking space is going to be deeded.
I believe they would be, everyone would have 1 parking space
Designated.
deeded.
Yeah, deeded, okay. And then, obviously, seasonally, people can park along South Street.
I don't believe there is currently any parking on South Street
So
in
there's
front of the
no-
site. Not directly in front of the site.
Not in this location, no.
Okay, so there is no, so the folks in Unit 1 have to park in their space in the designated parking space and walk.
Yeah, they have to walk the,
Yeah.
whatever it is, 150 feet to their parking space.
150 feet. Now, I mean, personally, I don't like it, but I guess it's buyer beware. We haven't done anything like this yet, have we?
Market will decide.
The market will decide. I mean, the other thing about this is, we don't have any type of a 7-unit building, townhouse type. Typically, we're 4 units.
Station Square has,
Oh, yeah, I guess.
has apartments in it and
They're above.
does not have the full amount of parking. They included parking enough for, that includes off-site parking.
Okay.
So there's public parking along the streets there. That's the benefit.
Yeah.
So having lived there, I know that on occasion, not very often, there wasn't enough, all the spaces were full. And so we would find off-site parking, which, Mechanic Street has tons, and, there's a lot of streets over there that have enough parking facility on it, and it's allowed. In this case, it's a interesting question, but it's not that difficult to work with that. And if you know about it going in, those are the people that are going to choose these end units. They're going to know they will have come from that situation or don't mind it anyway.
Yeah. No, again, in this situation, it's going to be buyer beware. My only apprehension, as I think I said it before, is we haven't had this yet in the village area, and it is likely the future. I just would like to see our first foray into this done very well, so that we don't have a hard time in the future trying to say this is what we want, and not looking back and going, well, we made a mistake on the first one. Really would like to see this done well and be very nice looking units. I'm very apprehensive about the parking situation. So I really don't like it, but I guess we've structured the thing to allow it.
Did we say we have now the letter of financial capacity?
It's not in your packet, but we've received it, so we'll submit it with a follow-up submission.
The town has not seen it yet?
We haven't seen it yet, no.
One other question. On our motions for tonight, we have 2 things. We have subdivision approval and we have site plan approval. So one is preliminary and the other one is is the approval.
Is the approval,
Right.
correct?
So, and I always get confused with these, Carol, so can you just run the distinction between them? Because if preliminary subdivision approval, I know that one, so they run off and they're supposed to, they'll come back with a bunch of things that need to be changed or updated or things they haven't been able to get yet. But the site plan approval, what's locked in from that if it's approved tonight?
Exactly as it is, with no changes,
The plat?
yes.
Okay. So that means that the question of the setbacks and all, that's good. The building locations, everything,
You would essentially have it approved as is.
the plat, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even talked about some of the rest of the plans, architectural standards, all the rest of it. We haven't gotten into that like we normally do.
Right.
So, I don't think that I'm ready to do a motion or to vote on a motion for site plan approval. I don't know that I'm ready to consider that tonight. I don't think we've gone into enough detail to make that.
And you can just do preliminary subdivision if you want. You don't need to do both.
All right.
True.
Yeah, I'm with Bill.
But I'll remind you about the waiver, too.
And the preliminary.
Which waiver?
We have to deal with the
Waiver
distances.
request for to allow a Class B
the
soil
soil survey. We
instead
have
of
not
Class
talked
A.
about.
So that's one thing you can,
Yeah, now, we had some comments asking that we not approve that. I mean, we typically always approve that waiver when we're on public water, public sewer, and it's pretty consistent right across the board. What is the impact on soils that would benefit by doing that on a public water, public sewer? Just, to answer or address the comment made in the public comments.
So I'm going to preface this that I'm not a soil scientist, so my understanding is between the Class A and the Class B is really the number of test pits to dial in the soil types on the lot being proposed. Now, that's more important when you start talking septic systems and well locations and really identifying a better class of soils for the site. Where you're doing public water and public sewer, that requirement isn't needed because sewer and water is being handled off-site for cleaning. We're still doing the wetland delineations, all those important things that talk about hydric soils are being done. It's just the depth for the soil, number of soil test pits, and then the soil survey that comes along with it.
Thank you.
Please.
Just to clarify, Tom, so as far as the wetlands go, there are other measures of testing the soils for the wetlands and checking out that. This is strictly for the purposes of water for the facility that's there.
Correct. As part of the wetland delineations, they do a soil test pits to do that process, and really what they're looking for is hydric soils. There's a whole host of things that make a soil hydric, regarding whether it's clay, whether it has silt. There's a whole host of things that can get you to that level. Not only that, so you get that component, but then they also are going to look at vernal pools and other requirements as part of that are outside the soils part, which have to do more with habitat. So there's that as well.
All right. Anyone? Page 4? A waiver? We want this, although, I'm looking to the right, although it's not necessary because it will be on city water and sewer, we just want the language to be noted and voted on for the record?
Correct. So I'm probably dating myself. None of you were on the planning board. So we used to get waivers all the time regarding soil surveys and when to waive them and when not. So the planning board did a workshop with a soil scientist and said, when can we waive soil surveys and when can't we? So the provisions that are in your ordinance that identify when to waive them and when not to were identified by the planning board working with a soil scientist. So if it meets that standard where It's on public city sewer and water, and it's not required as part of a net density calculation. Recommend waiving it because that's what the planning board identified as a waivable provision, because we wanted clear standards of when to waive it and when not to waive it.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh?
I went to that waiver and I have one question written above on something else. Does the growth management ordinance apply to this?
Yes.
So 22 units, and how would that need to be broken up over a couple of years?
So this would come under the multi housing growth permits that have been allocated. So I've got to go back and look. I don't know the exact number they're allowed, but I know there's a separate pot of growth permits that are allocated as part of multifamilies.
Do you know?
I don't know the growth permit numbers off the top. We did have a discussion about this. I remember Damon and I went through it a little bit. It sounded like there might be a little bit of delay. Like they may only be able to build a certain number of units next year, end of this year, but then next calendar year they can finish off the project. Something to that degree. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were.
So it would likely be split?
Yeah, it very well could be, yeah.
Okay.
And the owners are aware of that as well.
All right. Very well. Sorry about that. Would you like to move waiver? All right. Motion on the waiver. Move to grant the waiver to Anthony Fernandez from the requirements of 300-3.11.K to conduct a Class A high-intensity soil survey at tax map 104, lot 14.
Is there a second, please? Thank you, Mr. Frank. Any other discussion on this waiver? We understand it? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. And on page 38,
Well, I think what we said is, I'm certainly comfortable with the preliminary subdivision approval because I know the lot has to come back to us and we'll be discussing this again. They've done a lot of work so far. So, I'd like to see that continue, and then I'm not comfortable with the site plan approval at this point. I agree with Bill on this issue.
am I hearing a motion?
Well, I guess
Go ahead, you have a question? Go ahead.
Move to grant.
I'm looking at the clock.
I'm just
All right,
wondering-
move to grant preliminary.
In 1
sub-
minute. I'm sorry?
It's having to do with this, so I don't know. I guess just one quick question. I am not comfortable with the 13-foot
Okay.
thing. If I approve this, if I vote in the positive for this, am I saying I'm okay with that? Because we never got to that.
Well, it's still in the preliminary approval stage.
So I just want to get that out there.
You're not comfortable with the setback requirement?
Yeah, the side setback.
Yeah, at this point, nor am I. But can't the applicant, if they're listening, they might, in preliminary, they can come back final with an adjustment.
I don't know.
So you're talking the soil waiver?
No. Yeah, generally speaking, by approving preliminary, it says you agree with the majority of what they have designed and submitted. The criteria under preliminary is everything you've talked about tonight, and the final approval is very minor snippets. So it's a little tough to say you would not agree with a setback. And then at the final stage, if they need to redesign it because of the setback, because you vote you do not agree with that, and you need them to do 30 feet, then they need to redesign a little bit. So
Don, please.
Yeah, I agree with Carol. Like, if you're granting preliminary, the plan should be 80% there. If there are issues with the setback, it doesn't seem like there's some concerns that you want the applicant to address. The other item, I talked with Damon, you haven't done a site walk. Do you want to go to the site, see what that looks like regarding those side setbacks? That's an option of the planning board. I did look at the growth permits. Yeah, they're tied to 10 growth permits per year currently. I will caution you that state law is coming down that's going to make us change that. So that may go up, but I don't know what percentage yet. So my guess that number goes up a little bit based on new legislation that's being directed down to us that we have to adopt by next summer. So just be aware that it's 10 now, but it may not be in the future.
Ben, you want to say something too, I guess?
The board has also not reviewed the related issue of the buffering. And I think that would fall into the same category as to the setback, because that also could lead to needs on the applicant's part to redesign the site. And so my suggestion to the board would be, given the fact that there are those outstanding questions, and also given the fact that it doesn't appear the board is comfortable granting site plan approval tonight, that you may want to consider delaying further action on granting preliminary subdivision approval until that question is answered. That would be my suggestion to the board. I don't think it is a complete, I guess I will put it this way, it would be preferable that those issues not be adjusted between preliminary and final. And my assumption is, from the applicant's perspective as well, that those types of things are quite critical to spatial relationships and things like that would need to be finalized as soon as possible.
I think I would be comfortable taking a vote tonight, but I would also be fine. I think a site walk would probably help out when you're talking about the buffering and setback. Like, that seems like an easy, or not an easy, but a reasonable way to maybe come to a better understanding of what the impact of those are. So if the intent would be to delay to do a site walk, then I'd say okay, but I would also be okay voting tonight. So I don't know what the rest of the board wants.
Well, we could do both, you know?
Yep. Good.
Site walks are generally a good idea. And in terms of the preliminary, there are just a few, the financial capacity, the Portland Water and Sewer, the HOA, the lighting thing.
No, it's the buffer and the
and
the setback. That's the.
Anyone else? I'm looking at the clock. It's past my bedtime.
The Red Sox aren't playing tonight. Relax.
Oh, no. If you want a hint, I'm willing to postpone and to do a sidewalk. I heard a butter say, I'm okay with 13, 14 feet. 13, 14 feet, this bench is close, It's one thing to say I'm okay with 13, 14 feet. I respect that abutter's approval until that wall goes up.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the person doesn't understand what 13 or 14 feet is, but maybe go out there with a cardboard model and paper dolls and all that.
Well, if it was put to a vote for the preliminary tonight, I would not be voting in favor. Because I'm still not comfortable with the way that this fits into the character of the neighborhood with that setback.
Postpone preliminary, are you in favor of that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm just telling you how I feel.
Anyone else?
I would vote right now.
Postpone preliminary? Colonel?
I said I would.
With a sidewalk?
Yeah. Well, I know the area, so maybe the abutter, I'm okay with taking the vote on the approval, but if we vote for subdivision approval and it doesn't, and we don't approve it, then we're left with the other. So, and it sounds like we have 3 people who'd like to do a site walk and postpone, so I'm okay with that too.
Someone want to make a motion?
I'm equally comfortable with the site walk and preliminary approval. Obviously, if I'm comfortable with preliminary approval, then, you know, the postponement would not be of any advantage to me.
May I ask a question? I apologize to interrupt, but if you're to vote for preliminary approval, and it sounds like some people are on the fence right now, and it gets voted down, where does that leave us? Do we need to, because I'd rather just table.
Just
and-
means a site walk.
Okay.
And then we'd have to.
I just don't want to get the whole project shut down because
No,
we
no,
did an
no.
early vote. That's what I want to
No, I
avoid.
wouldn't shut
Okay.
down the project.
Okay.
My opinion, which means nothing. Instead of having 7 units in the front, I'd have 6 because I would give more of a buffer on the other side. But that's redesigning things. It's just just take it for whatever it's worth.
And I'm with him. I would rather see fewer units on that front.
That's what I would go for. One less.
I know that's that's not what you want to hear, but that's where I am.
No, I appreciate the input.
And that building of 6 would be symmetrical. Not that I get into that stuff, but.
Understood.
And then you'd have more than 30 feet, and I'd be tickled pink.
So a question for the board is, if he removes the unit on the south, you're okay with the reduced setback to the north? Is that where you're, because that was a reduced setback as well.
Well, actually, the setback is not reduced from the north.
I mean, sorry,
The setback is only being reduced on the south side. The buffer, we're asking for the buffer reduction on both sides.
So could we say as a condition for preliminary subdivision approval based on only having 6 units in the front of the street?
Yes. By removing
That's
that
not,
unit.
that's not the applicant's proposal.
I know.
So we're
I know.
now dictating, we haven't given them a chance to go back and redesign or to look at this or to make a case.
You want to say something?
Or anything else, and we haven't done a site walk, and we're gonna say, do this? I mean, I don't think that's.
Could I make a suggestion? I think it's just best to table it. It's 10 o'clock. I mean,
Could you
this is an
introduce yourself, please?
I'm sorry, I'm Alan Shepard. I'm the attorney for the applicant who couldn't be here tonight. It's been a long night, and there's been some good discussion, but I think there could be more discussion about the setback and buffer. So rather than, I think, trying to, come to a decision tonight, you do a site walk, people get a little better idea of the lay of the land with these ideas in mind, and then the applicant can also think about it as well. And we come back after you've done the site walk and then take up those issues, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
We've just heard from the applicant. I'd like to move to postpone further review of Anthony Fernandez's request for preliminary subdivision approval pending responses to remaining issues and scheduling a sidewalk.
I will second that.
I'm looking to, did you copy that down?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's really good.
And so we'll vote on that. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Do we want to try and postpone? Schedule a site walk?
Right
I
now.
can send out a poll to the board and the applicants and target late August. Is that reasonable? And if there's no good dates in late August, we could look into early September. We do need time to give notice for the site walk.
Sure, okay. You send us the survey thing every.
Oh, yep, we'll see what works.
Okay, does that help you?
It does, and I think the site walk will, yes, we're on good footing, I think. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 past 10. It's beyond our curfew.
You used the term bedtime.
Well,
Would you like a motion to adjourn or do you have something else?
is there any other discussion? Okay, we have 2 items that were remaining, but we're going to have to postpone those to a future date.
Mr. Chair, so that'd be the
Please.
17th. Just a quick question is, our board members, can they confirm their availability? It might be good to make sure we'd have a quorum.
August 17th.
I'm okay with August 17th.
Not available. I'm not available.
Probably two.
We could have 4 at least. I'm sorry, Colonel, you available?
I think so.
The 17th, Monday the 17th, Monday the 17th? Mr. Frank, do you think?
I'll be here.
And we may have Mr. Delaney as well, so why don't we schedule the 17th?
You may not have Mr. Delaney. His email said he's gone for a couple of weeks, which could be, we'll have to
Well,
confirm it, but just to make
I
sure.
think we have at least 4. So we have a quorum, and we'll send him a threatening letter.
How about a really kind
Blood
letter?
drenched.
Being nice.
We may have the 7th board member by then, potentially.
I doubt it.
Is the council gonna?
In 2 weeks? Not a chance.
I know.
Not a chance. Not a chance, I promise you.
Miracle.
They can't vote on anyways, anything that's already been before us. A new member cannot vote on anything that's already appeared before us. All right, folks, any other?
A motion to adjourn? Or do we do?
Yes, now, will these items that we did not take tonight, will they go to the 17th?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So I apologize, it's 10 o'clock, 10 past 10. We've been doing this too often. So August 17th, to be continued. Is there a motion, please? Any other discussion, anything?
Move to adjourn.
Motion?
I will second that.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Sorry for the late night.